And we are live for another Biddle on Saturday night.
Good evening, everybody.
Hello.
All right, so what's going on this week?
Well, there's big talk about Peppermint 9, I must say. It's been talked about everywhere.
Well, Zeb.
I think you can guess what I've been busy doing this week.
Wow, look at that wallpaper.
Is that two laptops and a...
Two laptops and a main PC.
Oh, my Lord.
And if I could have got it on my phone, you'd have seen that as well.
Funny. Too funny.
So we need to send you the Peppermint Distro Hoppers Anonymous
Award. Yeah.
Your addiction's getting the better of you.
Yeah, but this little puppy here, this is the one I love. It's just an old Dell D430, 2-core with 4 gig. It runs really well. Good morning, Mr. Pope.
Hello, Ellen.
You look like you've just been shot.
I don't think Alan's went to bed yet.
Yo.
Did he not? Wow.
Hello.
I like it better.
The German soccer team there. See? They won today. Yeah.
Okay, moving on.
Ellen, I liked it better when you were on my side in that game instead of the free-for-all because you were doing too well at shooting me in the back.
Alan, can we confirm you didn't go to sleep yet?
That's for correct. Yes.
Oh, wow.
Sorry
I've
to hear
only done that once.
I hope it doesn't look like it too much.
What time is it? It's like 3:30 in the morning, right?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Wow.
That's friendship right there, Rocco.
That's it.
You can't buy that kind of loyalty.
Yeah, I only stayed up so I could shoot you in the back of the head.
That's exactly. You can't buy that kind of loyalty.
Yeah.
And you seem to be doing that quite a lot.
A little, yes.
And he enjoyed it.
Can you imagine if he didn't like you, what he'd do?
I know. That's what I was thinking.
Get a plane ticket.
Yeah. Oh, that's funny.
All right, so who's tried out Peppermint besides Zeb? I mean, everybody knows Zeb's going to try Peppermint.
I mean, I tried it.
You tried it?
Yeah.
Oh, there's Michael.
I've only tried it live so far.
So the question is, did Michael extreme distro hop like he said he was going to do on his show?
Probably not.
No, not yet. I mean, technically, it's actually Ryan
Biddle.
Rocco's fault. No, I'll do it.
Of course it is. Of course it is.
I'll do it. I'll do it for Destination Linux. Right before.
Well, actually, we're supposed to be on our respective operating systems of Antigos tonight because
That's what everybody was supposed to be doing.
I forgot all about
That's
that.
what I did. Oh, wait, no.
No, I don't think anyone did.
A far more exciting thing happened in the week than Antigos Challenge. Sorry, boys.
Yes, it was the Peppermint, wasn't it? It was.
And hey, I did my Antigos Challenge on Destination Linux live. 3 hours before the show, I was running Cinnamon.
Yep.
Nice.
And I'll say that I really kind of cheated.
Oh, really?
I did install.
Oh, at Ballistic Overkill? Yeah.
Yeah,
I
I'm glad
installed
you're admitting it.
I installed it on the laptop, or should I say I tried to install it on the laptop, and it failed. So, hold on. Let me get the picture up of. I took a screenshot of it, and I probably won't be able to show you guys, but I'll be able to read it because it was pretty comical. The error.
Yeah, Das Geek.
So the error reads. This is what the error reads. Cannot create the download package list. Please reference the following number when reporting this error. None.
No number.
I love it. That's helpful.
Do you know how you get past that error? When you reinstall it, don't choose any packages from their little installer. Just install the OS itself, and then do it all afterwards in package.
That makes sense. It sounds
Well,
like
I did notice that in that installer, when you are able to choose, it used to be that you were able to choose through a list of programs, and now they changed it to where there's an advanced button. So you only get a listing of like 3 or 4, maybe 5.
Yeah.
And then if you hit the advanced button, then you got more listings like the AUR and all this other stuff. So they did change it, but
I thought they fixed this. That we had this problem last time, and I thought it was fixed. Or is there an error that's come up again since
must
the
be a
last
regression.
spin?
What kind of, or what are you talking about, Carlin? What kind of error are you referring to?
Well, people were having problems if you select some packages besides the default that comes up on the install. It was creating problems.
There used to be an issue where if you select if some people's computers, if you selected LibreOffice, it would mess up.
Right.
Well, it's still doing it.
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah.
well, in that case, in some people, if they pick LibreOffice, it'll mess up.
And in some cases, no matter what you pick for extra software, the installer fails
Yes.
Yeah.
3 times.
Right.
Well done.
wow.
Well, I
So
can
we've
say
all done really good with the Intergos.
Barbara, I can't hear you, love.
mine installed flawlessly.
Yeah.
I had
I
no
got
problem.
code error 0. That was
Yep, that's
all
what
I got. Code
that's
error
what
0.
Rocco just read out. Yeah.
I got code error none.
0.
Oh, 1.
Yeah.
None.
What does
None.
code 0
It
tell
was-
me? Yeah.
It was like code error following number, code error, and then it just said the word none.
So how did you go looking up that
It
code,
said the
Rocco?
word none.
Did you Google it, Rocco? Did you Google it?
Look, if I gotta Google the install
Error
error, just
Yeah,
install
code 0.
something
I
else.
Googled it and there was a ton of stuff returned. None of it had to do with the Antragos, though.
And there's Popey sitting there thinking, Ubuntu works, boys. Were you playing it?
I'm saying nothing, not getting involved in that one.
Yeah.
Why didn't you take the challenge, Popey?
So, Zeb. Oh, sorry.
I have a bunch of VMs. And a couple of spare laptops. I'd be happy to. I didn't know there was homework to do before I joined.
Well, yes, last week we decided to do some type of distro that everybody could try and check out this week, and whatever reason we picked Intergos. So
Yeah, who
Okay.
picked that? And somebody.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Not me
Pick
this
that.
time. I did it last
I have no
time.
idea.
It wasn't me this time. It was Michael.
No, I have no
Michael.
idea. I did not. I have no
Somebody
idea what you're talking about.
recommended it.
Yeah.
Did anybody that tried Antragos have a flawless installation? Because it
Yep.
doesn't. Colin,
Me. Yeah,
and you did Deepin?
I did deepin.
Okay.
Colin, how many dollars are they paying you for that?
He's a shill.
That's undisclosed, Rocco.
You were
I
supposed
have
to
one
mention
failure.
it.
One failure, and then I'm running cinnamon.
All right, we'll let that alone. Nobody heard us, Colin.
Well, I have to say I must have fluked it because I didn't choose any other packages. I just thought because I'm in Australia, I've got useless internet. I just thought I'm not going to choose anything. I'm just going to make it a fast install. So that's why I had no problems probably.
Yep,
I just
guaranteed, yeah.
went through. Yeah.
Well,
So,
apparently there's a bug with the open box install, and they know about it. So I tried it twice on physical hardware. It failed both times. Then I tried it in a VM. It failed. And then I looked around the internet. They know their installer for open box is broken. They just haven't fixed it. So
Is this the reason why we did Antighost? Did somebody know it was broken? Have we
Michael.
been guinea
I
pigs? here?
didn't
What-
pick it.
Who picked it?
I was actually gonna go back and watch last week's episode to see who picked it, but I didn't.
Maybe it was
I didn't pick
Barb.
it. It must have been. That's
well,
why
I'm
she
running.
left.
I'm running Antragos open box. I wasn't going to be stopped. So what I did, I installed the Antragos base, which is basically like Arch. At the end, you have a command prompt and nothing else. So I spent half a day installing open box on Antragos.
Wow,
I've got it on this laptop. That's open box back there.
wasn't gonna beat you, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've got this computer over here. You guys can't see it. It's got Antragos on it too. And
Sure,
Mhm.
sure it does.
Right.
All
Work,
Yeah,
2 thumbs up.
yeah.
Antragos
If I s-
i3, right?
If I start that laptop, you'll probably see the error message come up because I haven't installed anything else after it. But
Kernel
This
panic.
This one has Intergos.
it doesn't work, Michael.
It does work. I just haven't booted it in a very long time.
It's in the middle of the stack. It can't have been one that you've used recently.
I know.
No, I haven't used that one in.
You know,
a year.
just power it up and run an update. It'll be fun.
Interrogos 4. It does
I've
not.
done that before. and it worked beautifully until it didn't.
Dan, you got your sound working?
Hey, Bob.
Hey, I'm back. How does it sound? Is it better?
Yeah,
That's better.
Much better,
I
Barb.
hate to tell you what I had to do.
Oh my
You
god!
had to install Intergos.
No, oh
Reboot.
God, never again. I did that back in December, and I will never do it again. That is
Jeez.
one evil distro. I had to do it.
Wow.
Don't sugarcoat it, Barb. Tell us how you really feel.
It's that's right.
All
I'm
right.
trying
So
to keep it G-rated.
Yeah,
Okay.
demonetized.
Thank you for that.
Yes.
Thank you for that.
Yeah, it absolutely is hideous. Remember, I had boot barf because it ate my grub.
Boot bath.
you should be a
It took
spokesperson.
Barb like 2 months before she would talk to me again after that challenge. Like, you guys are joking, but I'm pretty sure Barb never said a nice thing for like 2 months, and then after that, she finally forgave me.
Yes,
For
I finally-
Intergos.
Yes. You're right.
So anyway, Dan, you got your sound working?
Yeah, I don't know yet.
Yeah, you're good.
It's working. It's working. We can hear you.
It's
you.
working.
Yeah, it
I
seems to
switched
be
to
out of
computer.
phase with my picture.
That's okay.
Mouse.
No
Looks
worries.
good here.
Yeah, it
That's
seems
false
fine.
audio. Yeah.
Okay.
Don't be blaming Pulse Audio. It was the best thing ever. Did you see the new update for 12.0?
Sure, sure.
It
And
wrecked my system. I
Now
had
it comes
so many,
with more
I had so
crackling
many problems. Yeah.
inabilities to switch
Yeah,
audio.
yeah, that's because you're also using some esoteric stuff, aren't you?
I'm running Manjaro. What's esoteric
Ex-
about?
Exactly. My point made. Thank you.
I've like had
Wow.
problems
I think-
with Pulse Audio with even Linux Mint.
Yep.
I
Yeah.
think
It's in
Pulse
bad
Audio has become the new gnome. We've got to get them on the show and show them some love.
I would really like to talk to them about Pulse Audio because they've got to do something. It's so bad.
Yeah, we got to have something better than Pulse. It's just horrible.
Or that we need to get them to fix it somehow, but there's no real clear way to report all the issues. And they're the same issues. They don't change. They're the same issues I've had 2 years ago with Pulse are still there today. When you switch audio devices and sources, you get the crackling and the feedback that comes through your headphones. It doesn't switch devices half the time when you tell it to. Like, it's the same problems that have been there.
Mhm.
It's just not gotten any better, and somehow it's become the staple. And I'm okay with it being the staple, but you gotta get it fixed somehow.
I thought
Works
you was the
fine.
jack expert.
I do. That's what I have to do. I have to go use Jack. I'm not the Jack expert, by the way. That would be Scrap Jaw. He taught me how to use Jack, and that's what I use.
I don't know. I don't see this. I can have like a YouTube video running while I'm playing a game in Steam, while I've also got a video chat running in another window, and I don't see this. And I have multiple audio devices on this, and I don't see the pulse issues that you're seeing at all.
Wow.
Well, I can tell you that every time I come out of sleep or my screen locks, my audio switches from my headphones to
I have seen
another
that.
output.
Yeah, I have seen that. It switches from my microphone because my microphone's got a headphone out, and sometimes it'll switch from the headphone out on my laptop to the headphone out on my microphone, and I can't hear anything. So
Yep.
maybe I've just got Stockholm syndrome and I'm locked in and I just don't see the issue anymore.
Do you use any USB interfaces for audio, or do you
like
just use
this one? Yes.
No, like I mean a USB interface box, like you would plug XLR
No.
equipment into guitars,
No.
mic, anything like that.
Hey, I got
That's
one
where
of
I have
those.
the issues.
Right.
I have audio interfaces. The mic goes through XLR. The DBX286 plugs into that, and then I've got the speakers that run into, and that's where it just. Anytime, what I tell people is, anytime you go from speakers or headphones, or a regular USB mic, usually you're okay in Pulse Audio. If you go with
Right.
anything else where you're actually doing anything production-wise with music, Pulse Audio just falls flat on its face.
Mm.
And
And
usually-
everyone uses Jack instead.
and everyone uses Jack. But to me, Jack, the only feature Jack offers for someone like me, in any case, is the fact that I don't get the interference, the crackling and the popping and the all of that stuff. So I think it's an interface issue. And then if you look at any of the boxes, like Focusrite is one of the most compatible ones. But if you look at any of the Behringers or any of those, they literally will not show up in Pulse Audio at all. And those are the most popular equipment out there. So you have to use Jack.
But it
get them
doesn't
to show up.
sound like there's a huge team of people working on Pulse Audio. It sounds like it's just a few people. There's
Can you
not a lot
fix
of
that,
people on
Poopy?
it.
My problem with Pulse Audio is when you update, it wrecks your config. You had everything set in each program, and now all of a sudden, my Blue Yeti mic, instead of being an input device, is set to an output device for some reason. The webcam is set to whatever, and and then you have to spend 15 minutes getting everything set back in OBS and Zoom and Discord and everything else that you have sound settings for.
Isn't this all going away soon with the new Magic stuff that's coming down the pipe?
I mean, in theory, but it's kind of wild. Pipe wire.
That's it. Pipe wire.
But that's another Wayland.
Yeah. Well, it feels like then we start all over again on this train of new software with interesting new challenging bugs to uncover.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean that's what we do. You can get them for sure.
I've just thought of next week's challenge.
Pipe wire.
We all have to come back with a distro running Wayland.
No, thank you.
Then half of us won't be coming back.
Yeah.
Done. I'm already doing it.
By the way, Rocco.
Is that what you're?
By the way, Rocco.
Yeah.
That was Zeb. That was Zeb that said that.
Duly noted. Duly noted, Colin.
Zeb that said what?
Duly noted.
Zeb started this challenge, so we don't have to look back at the video.
So, Barb, you should be able to take this challenge. You don't have to use Antergos, but you've got to use Wayland. Something with Wayland in it.
You will have all have slept before next week, so you'd have forgotten. We'll just blame Michael again.
Since 2011.
Well, I guess we're all running Fedora next week then, because
is that the challenge for next week, Fedora? Well, Ryan, that's not right because Ryan's already there.
I love this idea. I'm ready for the challenge, guys.
I got a VM with Fedora set up in it.
Running Fedora, Ryan.
What's that?
Haven't you already been running Fedora for a while?
We're not talking about that, Barb. That's the challenge.
I don't trust you in your challenges. No.
Okay.
You got a reputation, Ryan.
I'll issue a different challenge. Gen 2. Everybody
know.
It won't be done by next week. It'll take more than a week to do
Probably.
That was the worst experience of my life.
No, six hours in, you finally get a command prompt. And I mean, that's
the excitement.
I've never been
Hang
back.
on. I think it's funny how we laugh at Gen 2 because we say, it's going to take a week to get it working. But you yourself spent half a day
on
Antergos work, right?
And that's why I'm critical of it. I actually could have installed mainline Arch and been up and running faster if I'd have just started with it. Yeah,
right.
Or just didn't pick OpenBox.
Well, I didn't know the installer was broke. I mean, they've got it listed in the installer. They should take it out of the installer if they know it's broken.
I agree with that entirely.
They would have to take the whole installer out.
To remove that option from the menu?
No, just to not have any errors.
To remove fix all the errors to get rid of it entirely.
Right.
But a lot of people swear by Antergos and love it and think it's the greatest version of an Arch-based distro.
No. If you install Manjaro and then install Antergos, it's night and day, that install.
But I remember on my Manjaro video, so many people jumping in because I was, big fan of Manjaro and saying, you've got to try Antergos. And that was what spawned the original. Yeah, that was what spawned the original challenge because I installed it during that time and it was really good. And then 1 week later, when everybody was doing the challenge, it just bonked everybody's computer. But it's interesting how many people do love it out there. There's a big fan following of it. But
last year I was running Antergos.
Yeah.
And it had no problem. The installer, the Cincy installer or something, they changed something or haven't fixed the bugs that came back from regressions because it used to install perfectly. Mm-hmm. I ran it for a long time, and I liked that over Manjaro.
Do you think they have too much on their plate, though, when they offer 8 desktop editions plus the base edition? That's 9 editions, in the installer.
Well, like, for example, their XFCE version used to look like the worst XFCE version ever made because they did nothing to it. It was like default XFCE, the most beautiful thing in the world, the most blah thing you could ever want. And now they've updated it, and like you said, Derek, maybe they have too many of the things that they're working on. But it used to be better than it is. I can tell you that.
I don't know if it's related, but for me, it all started going wrong when the NVIDIA part of the installer. Because when you first start up, you can just go Antigos, or you can pick AMD, or you can pick NVIDIA. And when that NVIDIA selection started to fail, and you used to have to go straight Antigos, for me, that's when it all started going Pete Tong.
Yep.
Thing is, guys, don't you ever want to just be able to sit and use your computers?
No, not
That is no fun, Barb.
Wow.
That's why I use Ubuntu.
I wouldn't be here if that's what I wanted to do.
That's why
I'd still be on Windows.
What are you talking about, Bob?
I like to get things done.
Why?
I've said this before. Linux should hurt a little bit.
Yeah, this is what I've done. Instead of getting a light distro, I actually went out and got stiffer hardware to run everything.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
right.
I just like to be able to use my computer to get stuff done, not sit here and swear over it. I had too many years of doing that before.
We are paving the way for advancements in Linux. If we weren't doing this, nobody would know something's broken.
Yeah, it's true.
Right? We're helping them out.
pioneers, basically. Yeah.
Pioneers.
I like the way you
gotta
think, Ryan.
actually
Yeah.
use it to really see where the problems are and so on, not just, oh, it doesn't work.
Well, that's part of the problem. Like everybody here who's a content creator, when somebody tells you you've got to check out this new thing or there's a big announcement for something, or even on Destination Linux, when there's big news stories about a distro doing something, we want to go try it out so that we can talk intelligently about it. And that means more than installing it on a VM, because for the most part, although Antergos seems to be the exception, you can get anything to work in a VM. When you install it on actual hardware, it tends to give you a lot different errors and symptoms and issues that you want to experience. So that's
That's what you want to do.
Except I tried it both ways, and it was horrible both. In
yeah, that's crazy.
virtual machines and on physical. Yeah.
Plus, you want to do real world, like actual use, like see what
Yeah.
battery life is like, and
Exactly.
see what the driver installation process is like, and you can't get that in a VM.
Yeah,
No.
Yeah.
it was definitely real world for me because I didn't have Wi-Fi working. I had to install Network Manager. I had to, DHCP CD and all that. And I
Yeah,
had
but
to
you
go
just
through-
have to say one word to
Retro.
make your point, Alan, and it's NVIDIA. I mean, you can try everything, every distro in a VM, but until you try it with NVIDIA drivers, you don't know how it's going to react.
Yeah.
This is
And
how
Joe is
Ryan,
back.
did you get your new 64 Vega yet?
It comes tomorrow. It comes tomorrow. I've been sick and tired of sitting on this old video card that I have.
Yeah, it's
It's
terrible.
so old, Vega
You're
56.
suffering. You're suffering with it, I know.
So the 64 comes tomorrow, and I told my wife it was Rocco's fault.
Ryan said he was
why I
going to
had to
send me
order it, because he
the.
told
Ryan
me-
said he was going to send me the 56. That's what he said.
Oh, really? No, I don't remember that. But
I do remember specifically you saying that.
You did take the fall for the wife of why we had to buy another video card. I was like,
I actually
"Rocco
remember.
told me that."
I remember you said that someone's taking the fall, and it wasn't Rocco. So like, who was that? Who's that? Zeb.
Oh yeah, I should blame the next one on Zeb or the Vega 72 when that comes out.
Exactly.
That's Zeb's fault. Just keep going around the corner. But yeah, the Vega 64 comes tomorrow, and I will be doing a bunch of clocking on that.
It's gonna come on Sunday.
Compares. Yeah, it's supposed to come on Sunday. Yep. Apparently, Amazon has a deal with USPS that for them they will deliver on Sundays.
We get Sunday deliveries all the time from Amazon.
Oh, really? That's kind of
Actually,
unique.
here, Amazon has their own delivery service. If it's too big to fit into the normal mail, they'll send their own company that they use to deliver stuff.
Yeah.
Well, I think that depends also how close you are to a distribution center, and if you're in a large urban area or large suburban area. They would
That's
never do
true.
that where I live.
That's true. I'm like 30 miles from Detroit.
Okay, I'm 175 miles west of New York City, so
Wow, you're out.
I'm out there.
I'm 800 miles south of New York
Anything?
Yeah. Well, you're
Well,
south
yeah,
of the
pretty much.
Mason-Dixon line, so you've lost civilization right there.
Yeah, Michael's from Alabama. When I
No,
picked
no,
him
no,
up
no,
at the
no.
airport, he was so shocked to see cars. So I had to explain to him how cars work and why there's no horse and buggy and all that stuff.
And no, Michael, I cannot see the Empire State Building from my house.
Well, I'm not sure if that's good or bad.
That's actually pretty good. I actually
Okay.
had somebody ask me that once when I was working in an engineering company and had to go to the main office in Silver Spring, Maryland. And some guy actually says, "Can you see the Empire State Building from your house?" I said, "Yeah, if it was 175 miles closer."
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's like if in order to see it, you'd have to be living downtown, and it would be like chaotic. So people who don't want that,
No, I grew up on Long Island and I could see it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I grew up 20 miles from Manhattan, so I could see it. A little bit of it.
Well, shall we get this conversation a little heated?
Yeah, let's put some.
Let's have an argy bargy.
Let's have an argy bargy.
Warm it up.
Hold on, let me get a spoonful of Marmite or my toast and get ready for
There's nothing better to get a conversation heated than to talk about desktop metrics. So,
Dang, Rocco. Way to set that one up.
Yeah, what metrics are you talking about?
the stuff that I won't say it. I was going to joke around a little bit, but I won't say it. The stuff that Ubuntu is collecting.
Oh,
In regards to for Alan's sake, I won't joke because people might take me seriously. But they did release the metrics that they are looking at this week. And has anybody seen them?
Yes.
I haven't taken a look. No.
No.
Very cool.
fascinating.
Very, very interesting.
Yeah.
What do you think?
The 67% people opting into it or not opting out to it, whatever, is awesome. It proves a good point.
That doesn't surprise me, though. I think if you explain it well, most people would opt in.
Okay, so 67% opt-in rate.
Mhm.
Fresh installs versus upgrades.
Yeah,
So
that one makes sense because they haven't the LTS upgrades. Most people use LTS. They haven't done LTS upgrades until July, so that metric isn't really enough yet.
and of course the all-important time zone stat that, obviously the US is way more popular than anywhere else.
We knew it. U.S. wins again.
yeah.
I hear they're talking about some excuse because it's the default.
Of course.
And some people just go with the defaults. So.
I think it might be more interesting to show the sizes of those circles because there's no numbers in there.
it's definitely bigger.
If they show the size of the circles proportionate to the population in the country,
Yeah, does size matter?
I think that
Size
It
always
does.
matters.
It does.
I think that would be more interesting. You might see a huge circle for Iceland, for example, because it looks really tiny because there's not many people, but proportionally, compared to how many people actually live there, it might be a very large number. But I don't know. I don't know if they can represent that.
I think
Why-
the hardware statistics were interesting, like 4 and 8 gigabytes being the most common, which that is such an important metric, I would think, for a distro to understand. For instance, if you're wanting to think about removing some of the, features that would keep removing some of the older hardware and users understanding what the hardware portfolio of your customers is in large, so that you either can move your features forward or keep them low on memory or that type of thing, depending on what you're wanting to do with the distro, pushing it forward. So knowing that most people, at least for the most part, have 4 to 8 gigabytes of RAM, that means you could do a lot more than what you may have believed before, where you hear a lot of people saying, well, I'm still running 512 megabytes, no, sorry. But I think that's interesting. And then I was really surprised about the erase entire disk and install, 53%,
Yeah.
which means everyone who uses Ubuntu has a Synology NAS backup drive. Clearly.
Of course.
Yeah. Well, I mean, nuke and pave, that's usually the way most people.
Yeah.
I mean, it's-
I'm
Well-
not really too quick to nuke my installation. I got too much time into building it.
Yeah, I think it depends how much you've invested in getting that set up sweetly as to whether you would be willing to nuke and pave.
yeah,
Or
but-
you like pain.
And
but
I
most,
think
most computer users don't do anything to their system. They just run it stock. You know?
Or if you're a
That's true. Most
masochist.
people don't do anything.
Right.
I think
No matter
some.
what operating system you're talking about, they don't do a thing.
I think it's worth noting that some of the people that were installing 1804 will be coming back to Ubuntu because it's the first LTS that has GNOME Shell as the default. And for whatever reason, if you didn't like Ubuntu, you didn't like Unity leading up to the like 1604, then maybe you were trying something else. And maybe, I mean, we saw a huge number of people who installed 1710, way more than we normally see for a non-LTS. And a lot of those people upgraded.
You know what really surprises me is that 28% of users enable automatic login. That means there's 28% of computer users out there that have nothing scandalous on their machine that they're trying to hide.
Well, that one is interesting. And
Yeah.
I think that is actually that if you take that number and also the number of if the RAM, which is one of the relatively high peaks was 1 gig of RAM, right? 1 gig of RAM is the default amount of memory you get in VirtualBox when you create a VM. And if you're creating a VM, you may well turn automatic log on because you're already logging onto your desktop. You don't want to have to log in again to the VM. So I think a lot of those 28% are actually VMs.
Let's hope so.
Could be.
Would they be able to tell?
Yes. By the GPU will be Innotech for VirtualBox, and it will be something else if it's KVM, and it'll be something else if it's Parallels, and it'll be something else for VMware, but they haven't analyzed the GPU stats.
And would you be able to influence that sort of like request to get that broken down?
No, there's a limited resource working on this, and I have no way of like influencing that. They know what's a priority. They know what everyone wants to know. So
it's been like announced that 1810 that cycle when 1810 comes out, that's when the thing's going to happen.
I think that's when by the time they want to have a public web dashboard where you could see this kind of information publicly. Right, okay. I think that's the goal. But as with all things, these things change. So a lot of the reporting about this has referred back to Will Cook's original email where he made a proposal, but things have changed since then. And so some of the things that were suggested back then didn't actually get implemented. And so, so don't take my suggestion that that's what may happen in 1810 as a promise, because, things change and there's limited resources allocated to it. But yeah, I thought the whole thing was just like interesting numbers, and some of it surprising and some of it not so surprising.
So just out of curiosity, on VMs, what's the normal display it gives you?
800 by 600 issues.
Well, it depends, because in some releases we bake in the drivers, so you can actually just maximize the window.
Well, I was talking about when it first launches the window, you can resize it, but yeah, I think it's 800 by 600.
Because I'm wondering then, if we think that VMs has skewed the number of people who auto log in, would it not have had a similar effect on the display size?
I don't know. I don't know how it determines what the display size is. I'd have to look at the source code to see how it gets that. I don't know if it's looking at what the maximum capability of the display is, or what the actual painted
initial display is. Yeah,
it is. I don't know at what point it's. I think Ubuntu Report runs at the very end of the install. So if you've been running the install and at some point you maximize the VM, then the resolution it captured may be higher. I don't know whether it gathers the capable or what it actually was, but you can look at the source code for Ubuntu Report. It's on GitHub and find out. So
it begs the question, so now they've got all of this interesting information, how is it going to help them?
Well, take for example the one about displays. Like, what's a common resolution that people have when we're doing things like designing the installer and the post-install welcome screen? We have to know what size it fits on, what size of screen it fits on. Like, I remember a bug in the Evolution webmail email system that was untouched for years, and the welcome wizard that you run through when you set up your email client didn't fit on the screen. And so many people complained that I've got a 1024 by 768 screen and the OK button is off the edge of the screen and I can't click it. Stuff like that. If you knew that the vast majority of your users had a 800 by 600 screen, you wouldn't design a thing that was bigger than the screen. Like, that would just be a ludicrous thing to do. So stuff like that is, if we're designing any internal stuff, but also, as you suggested, the amount of RAM is an interesting one, and also which country is growing. Like, where are people doing these installs? If they're in a particular country, then maybe we need to make sure our translations are perfect for that location, those kind of things. And that's like, we don't develop a lot of software, so we're
do they have any idea how many people run VMs of Ubuntu? Do they have a percentage on that? Because that would be interesting.
So you can infer that from the GPU.
Mhm.
And I don't know if you've looked at the Ubuntu report. Probably the only thing that would infer it is the product ID, the machine type, which says VirtualBox in it, or Innotech or something like that. So you could aggregate all those together and say those are VirtualBox, and then aggregate all the Parallels ones and say those are Parallels, and aggregate the VMware ones. And so you could kind of collectively put all those together and say those are virtual machines, and all the ones that have NVIDIA GPUs are probably not virtual machines, and the ones with Intel GPUs are probably not. So I think all that data is there. You can see what's in the report, and GPUs probably and the device name is probably the easiest way to figure out whether the
There'll be
VMs
this
or not.
little spike, and I'll go, "Yeah, Ryan's bought a new graphics card."
Well, that's the other thing. To be clear, yes, I realise you're joking, but we can't pin it down to individuals because that's all completely anonymized. I have to say that, just because some people think we can spy on individual users, but we totally can't. It's all aggregated.
Yep. I thought it was great info that's out there and shared, and it's very interesting. I'd like to see what ends up coming from the data out there. Because obviously, I don't think it's any secret. There was some flack back and forth. Some people loved it, some people didn't. But I think it will be interesting to see what can come of it now that it's there. And a lot of people opted in, which I thought was good to see a lot of people choosing to opt in and see what can be done with the data to make it even better.
Yeah, that 67% was, that's the other thing. I've seen a lot of reports where people are saying, I was surprised at this, or I was surprised at that, surprised that it was 67%, or surprised that the amount of RAM was 4 gig. And I think one of the things that we make a mistake in the Linux community is thinking that other people do things the same as we do, or thinking that other people use the same hardware as we do. And there's as you can see from the graph, there are people all around the world, and they won't all have 128 gig of RAM, and they won't all have high DPI screens. Just the nature of what's available locally. It's so I think it's great because it enlightens people that actually the Linux community is very diverse, and there are all kinds of different machines out there of all kinds of wacky GPUs, not just everyone always says Intel, NVIDIA, AMD, right? There are tons of other GPUs out there that people are using, and you'd be surprised it's not just those three.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm using one of the new Ryzen chips, the Ryzen 7 3.7 gigahertz chip with 8-core processor in it. It's pretty much a beefy chip. It really screams. It does really good video encoding. It's pretty snappy with that, and I've been really pleased.
Nice.
Very cool.
Well, I think the stats are great.
That's what I'm not happy with.
Well, I guess at some point them prices are going to come down once Intel actually does some challenging on that. But
well, some people don't wait for prices to come down; they just buy them anyway, like Das Geek.
Ryan,
yeah,
and just blame it on someone else, right?
yeah, right.
Some online dude.
Yeah.
When the prices come down, it isn't fast anymore.
Yeah.
No, it isn't as fast as it used to be. No.
But the prices have come down considerably on that Vega 64. We're talking 2 months ago, that card was $900+ used on eBay. Now you could pick it up for $600.
A mere $600.
Mere $600.
That's nothing to do with the fact that Bitcoin is tanked.
Yeah,
that has nothing to do with that. No.
Do anymore.
I can get a Ryzen 64 now for £499, brand new.
Wow, that's crazy. Don't tell my wife that. Hopefully she's not watching.
You paid a lot more than I take it.
You said pounds, Ryan, not squids.
Oh yeah. What is how many squid? How many does that translate to real money?
It's almost 1 to 1.
Every time you say that, I think of a plate of calamari.
Look, Alan's just shaking his head. He just.
No, you're not alone. I do too. There's just
They don't have real cash. They use calamari strips.
Well, that 53% you mentioned about reloads, that was just from Rocco's location, right at whatever his address is.
Mm-hmm. Well, Ryan, maybe you can answer the questions about AMD in the chat for Charlie. because he's talking about control panel issues and stuff. So
Yeah, let me take a look.
but I think the metrics are really good. I think that it's great that they have them. I still say that they should have a screen where you can't go by.
You're wrong.
I still say that it should be a yes or no
You're wrong.
must choose screen.
Mm-hmm.
It is a yes or no.
No,
It is, but
it's on yes by default.
Right.
See, this is the problem that people are bothered by. They want a button that is two different buttons, or because this checkbox has already been checked. That's atrocious somehow.
No, it's not
imagine-
Who
atrocious.
cares?
And imagine we had
cares?
considerably less data. These graphs that we'd be presenting would be inaccurate. They would
Correct.
just be wrong. So
They would be.
because they would be based on a sample size that's considerably smaller of self-selecting people who. And yes, some people will just go next, finish, and we will capture information about the kind of hardware they have in their machine, whereas others will take a considered approach and read the screen and think carefully before they choose yes or no. And some people will just blindly opt out, and some people will use Xkill to kill the process, and everyone in between, right? But the more you reduce down the number of results we get, the worse the results are. It's as simple as that.
Yeah, but the results would still be there if it was a screen that you could not bypass without clicking one or the other. So you can't blindly go next.
I don't know. There are people much cleverer than me that have done psychological analysis on the way you present questions in dialogues on computer screens, and I wouldn't speak for them. But this seems to work. And while yes, we got a load of flack for it, it turns out that quite a lot of people, more people allowed it than disallowed it.
So
Well,
one
like
of
I
the
said-
metrics should be 67% opted in, 66% just went next.
Yeah, so maybe we should. I'm not suggesting this, right? But maybe we should turn on their webcam and see how much they stare at the screen, see how much they do this, and see if they click away and read a book about statistics. And
You just
whether
count
they-
the seconds that they're on that screen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then if they go,
That's all you do.
and if they click the button no, and then they change their mind, they go, yeah, no, yes. We need to
You just
record
count that as a yes.
Right.
You count that as a yes.
All of that.
Talking about clicking the webcams, have you guys in America now got? I mean, in Asda they've just introduced. You go up to the self-service till and you're scanning your stuff in, and there's a video screen of you standing in front of the till.
No,
So it's
not
actually
that I know of.
recording what you're doing. So last night it wasn't particularly busy in there, but I sat there for 5 minutes waiting for somebody to come along and say, yes, this is old enough. Hey, look, you've got my picture on the screen. Just have someone in the office go, yes, authorized, just because I was buying a bottle of drink. So
Is that what
I
that video camera's for? Is to determine if you're
I have
old
no
enough
idea.
to buy a
but I mean,
knife or glue or drink? or
the
whatever.
crazy thing is, here's like the picture of me there now, and I'm scanning all my stuff down here, so they can't see what I am and I'm not scanning. So why are they?
Well, I'm
why
sure
are
they can.
taking the picture?
I'm sure there's
What's
many
the
other
point?
cameras
Yeah.
there in the place. They can see every position.
Yeah,
I'm sure.
But why do they have to have it in front of you and on the screen?
So Zeb,
What
next time
benefit is there at all?
go to the cashier, go to a real
Well,
person.
Normally, the way
Have that
security
problem.
cameras are set up in supermarkets, at least here, you get a very good vantage point of the register. You get a very good vantage point of what the person has and what they're buying. You don't get a good vantage point of who they are, because usually the cameras are not close. They're at bad angles. So I would assume that the camera that you're talking about is there to match up with the other cameras, so that they not only have what you bought from other angles, but they also have a close-up.
Well, they know what
snapshot
you're
of
buying because every time you pass the barcode across, it's like boop, and it knows
Yeah.
exactly. And the person at the other end could well be seeing a list of your groceries, and if it's like fertilizer and glue and all kinds of other things, then maybe they'll think, oh, hit the terrorist button. But
Right.
if
But it's
you're-
for more things than just that. I mean, there was a issue where I was working before where there was counterfeit money coming through all the time, and if they can pinpoint who's bringing that in, it's all better for them.
Yeah. I mean, this is not your normal CCTV operation. That's still by the main door. And the ridiculous thing is anybody can go and stand up by the guard and have a gander at what he's looking at. I mean, there's no security involved there at all. It's just an open desk with but it's amazing how deep they can zoom in and to see what you're doing in the shop. There's virtually no corner that isn't covered by a CCTV camera somewhere.
Yeah, depending on how much you want to spend for that system, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think if I opened my house and all kinds of random strangers were coming in, I'd want to know what the hell they were doing as well.
Yeah. All right. Anybody else got anything about the metrics before we move on?
Hey,
Okay, good.
Zeb,
Whoa.
Zeb, I just
It
want
wasn't
to.
heated at all.
So Zeb, I don't want to scare you or anything, but there's currently a camera at your face right now. So
It's recording everything you do, Zeb.
No.
I saw Peppa Pig playing back there.
Yes.
I'm just
Well,
happy
you
my
could be like I
camera's
did
working.
earlier and start up the stream. Oh, we got no video. Instead of pushing the button, all I had to do was take that off the camera.
Yeah, but we can trust Google. We don't have to worry about YouTube.
Right. I mean, they're good. They're good people.
Yeah, they're not evil.
Yeah.
Well, they did take that out of their mission statement now, that they're not evil. That's been removed.
Yeah.
So what does that mean?
I don't
means
know.
at least they're honest.
Everyone get their tinfoil hat out.
Tinfoil hat time.
they rephrased it.
Yeah.
Hannah had a good idea in chat. She said, Zeb, you should blow them a kiss.
What'd they phrase it to? We're not sadistic.
I don't remember what it was. It's like do good stuff or something like that.
Yeah, it's kind of still the same line, but I think it needed changed and updated anyway.
We're not that evil.
I mean, do no evil is kind of like a very, totally like a relative term anyway. So it's like
In other news, do mission statements even matter?
No.
I mean, depends on if you agree to the EULA or not.
You mean you read Eulers?
No. You don't have to read it to agree
It's
to
as boring
it.
as reading a manual.
I'm just saying people who agree to it.
To read every single thing of those, to know what it means. I mean, geez, if you read every single one of them, you wouldn't have time to go to work.
You wouldn't have time to use the software.
Yeah.
Well, Charlie had a question in chat, and I don't know. Maybe you know, Alan. Is there any plans to add any other kind of information to the metrics?
No plans to add anything to gather anymore. Not that I'm aware of anyway. I don't believe there's any additional things that were requested that weren't already gathered. So no, not that I'm aware of.
All right, so let's get on to some more important stuff. What'd you buy off the summer Steam sale?
Yeah.
A Windows game.
No, you didn't. What'd you buy?
Whoa, what?
Whoa.
PUBG.
Oh, you did, huh?
Mm.
Michael, do you have
It's a
PUBG, right?
I have it, but I don't play it, and I bought it a while ago.
Who doesn't have PUBG?
I
here?
don't, because I'm actually loyal to Linux.
Whatever, dude.
I actually have no idea what PUBG is, so I don't have it.
I don't have it either. I got Tux carts.
Yeah, I like Super Tux. Yeah.
Yeah.
I haven't played PUBG since last September, so
So what is it?
it's a battle royale game. It's like a shooter game, but it's more of a there's 100 people in the game, and then you all are forced into a smaller and smaller area until you have to fight to the last person standing.
So I'm curious though, why go with PUBG when Fortnite is out and so much more popular? Like, why didn't you go with that one?
Because Fortnite is free and I already had it. And
Ah,
PUBG is paid and it was 30 something pounds, and this week it's 18 pounds.
So are you
Right.
good at
Like
Fortnite, Popey?
No, I'm terrible at both. But that doesn't
I
stop me
played-
playing anything.
Yeah.
I've played PUBG once on the Xbox, and it was like 10 minutes for the plane to land, 15 minutes to get the parachute on the floor, another 20 minutes
Yeah.
to get to the first building. Bang. Hang on a minute. I didn't even get a chance to pick up a gun and I'm dead.
I do enjoy watching
you
people
could
play
be in
it.
a game with Ryan where he says how good he is. Well, is it being better than being sneaky when he's invisible all the time?
Hey, Joe, are you still salty about getting killed a lot there, Joe?
That's because I never seen you.
This is a toxic environment
I
here.
know. That's a lot of salt you're throwing there, Joe.
So my
I know, but you know what? You were talking at the end about how good you are, and I'm going, well, wait a minute. The guy's invisible all the time. Is he really good, or is he just hiding?
so my son plays Fortnite on this PC behind me.
That was fun.
And there's actually 2 other Battle Royale games that have come out recently. One that I quite liked, which is called Cuisine Royale. Unfortunately, it's only available on Windows as well. And Realm Royale as well. There's quite a lot of these kind of Battle Royale style games. But I bought it. But if any other Linux games come up in the sale, then I'll probably buy those as well.
Well, there is
that
a
was just the
Linux
first
Battle
one.
Royale game coming out, but we're not going to mention. It'll be on Destination Linux tomorrow. But there is one coming. It looks pretty cool, like Fortnite-ish.
It looks kind of like a clone of Fortnite.
Yeah,
Kind of.
so we'll have our Battle Royale in Linux soon.
I'm still not a big fan of the whole battle royale.
That's because you're wrong.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, of course, obviously.
Why? 'Cause
I mean,
you can't sit in a little corner and take little.
No,
pot
actually,
shots.
No, it's
actually,
you're supposed to.
You actually can do it that way, but I'm just not a big fan of it.
I actually don't like it because it is so boring and it's so slow. The only way to play anything like PUBG or anything that's that style of game is to play with people you know that you
Yes.
can like conversation with. Otherwise, it is just painful because it takes 20, 30 minutes to find someone and then they kill you.
Yes. That was my experience. It was exactly my experience. I bought it. And I played the first round with a guy that I was playing with. 30 minutes, didn't see anybody, and got shot.
That's why you should stick with Survive.io.
Next round, I played like 25 minutes, seen one guy, and got shot. So I sat there for an hour and basically did nothing but walk around and collect stuff.
And
it
get
was
shot.
Like, no. And get shot. And that was, no, that's not.
Yeah, it's a fun game if you are
I did
playing
a
with
refund
people.
on it.
So I played the game and I kept it because I was playing with people and I didn't realize that 2-hour thing was passing by. And I was playing with people that were decent. So they carried me completely. So I experienced the game as if I was okay at it while being absolute trash. So it worked. It was okay. Like if you play with people, it's fun, but otherwise it's no.
Yeah,
How do you play Ballistic Overkill?
And Ballistic Overkill is fun, but just in general. But playing with people, it's way better. Like
So
it gets
I
much better.
carrying you.
I think I'm the opposite. I find Ballistic Overkill in games like that frustrating because it's just like killed over and over and over again. Whereas at least with PUBG, I can run around a little bit and have a bit of fun and get a car and explore and I like that exploration side
The
of it.
problem with the first person shooters is if you don't know the map, you're just going to get killed. You know,
Yeah.
people that know the map are
Yeah.
always going to.
That's a big part of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, as far as go ahead. No, well, fine. I agree with what you're saying, Popey. It's just kind of like there's certain parts where certain types of games are definitely for different people, and I think the constant. I like for first person shooters that are run and gun in general. So, like the PUBG doesn't really fit my vibe. So when I didn't have to do everything, that's when it worked fine. But as far as like that game, as far as the exploration, there's like 2 maps, and when I played it, there was only 1 map. So exploring that map took maybe like 5 rounds, and that was it. So like, I don't know. It's kind of like an interesting aspect because this Ballistic Overkill, you die a lot. And to me, that's actually kind of fun because it's like I'm gonna
You
run
can get
with
right
a,
back in there again.
Yeah,
If
exactly.
you die,
You can
just get right back in there.
you jump
You
right
don't have
back
to wait for
in.
the plane or anything like that.
Yeah,
Right.
you can also jump back in and say, "Screw guns! I'm gonna take a sword and just slice people."
Yeah.
So like that's
So-
the kind of thing.
Also in the sale, I bought a bit of hardware because the Steam Link and Steam controller were on sale. So I bought another Steam Link and a Steam controller.
Nice.
Steam Link was £2, And the controller was, I can't remember, but yeah, I got a bundle of the
About 25 or £30, come down quite a bit. Yeah.
Yeah, it's come down quite a bit. So I'm going to put that in the bedroom so I can hide away from everyone and play games away from the rest of the family on my bed.
I've never gamed on my PC.
About Ballistic Overkill is how quick it is. I mean, even comparing it to Battlefield, there's always, it seems like it takes those so many seconds or whatever to reload. This thing is like instantaneous. You can change your weapon or pick whatever profile you want in 2 seconds, and boom, you're back in.
Yeah, that's good fun. I like that.
And
I like
Ryan to kill me again.
Back in the day, though, that's why I liked Delta Force Black Hawk Down, which is, again, was a first-person shooter, run around, jump around like a lunatic. But if you wanted to, at the beginning of the map, you could run the other way, park yourself up in the foothills, and just snipe people.
Yeah.
So until somebody, and if you didn't really listen to what was going on behind you, before you're just about to take your next shot and someone's come up and stabbed you. So they've done that. But there was no invisibility mode. But you'd get all the really good people would be running around the town and fragging people and jumping bombs and goodness knows what else.
Well, you get these people without any honor. You get these dishonorable people that spawn camp and, do all these ridiculous things, like Michael does when he plays Ballistic where he sneaks up behind you like a ninja and he doesn't come at you man to man,
He's silent. I can't believe it. Michael is silenced.
Oh my!
Yeah, why are you being silent, Michael? Because they're speaking truth.
Oh, I knew Ryan had come back.
I mean, anytime we're picking on Michael, I've got to come back.
You just load up your M260 and then just turn around and just shoot in every direction, spin around circles, and hope hit whatever's in your way. That's all.
Joe, I really enjoyed you playing, though. That was so much fun because I actually got some kills from it.
Yeah,
That's unusual for Ryan.
Well, and I'm trying to get used to the mouse too and all that. And this thing, it's just, I don't know. I have to learn the controls and stuff yet, but I don't care. It was just fun.
You were doing good. You got me once, I think.
Yeah, but again, this game, if you like, people have brought up, if you don't know the maps and it's so fast paced, if you just jump in, it's hard, dude. It's hard to stay alive.
But what I like about Ballistic Overkill is you can have fun with it immediately, even if you're not good. Whereas a lot of games, like people have been playing it for 8 years. Good luck ever joining it and being good at it because
you're talking about CS:GO.
Yes, there you go.
Competitive gamers have taken over that game. Yeah.
Well, the first thing I noticed about the game being in there, and maybe it's just because it is new and I know I'm not good, or there's a lot of guys say, "Oh, we're not good in there." Is it's not like the old Battlefield game. I used to sit there and watch my son slamming the couch, yelling, screaming, these guys cussing. It's like, really, it's a game, But you don't see any of that here. You're just laughing. Of course, you're throwing little digs here and there.
Oh, you're talking about Rocco. Yeah, he is.
I don't do none of that.
By the way, if you all think Rocco is this nice, gentlemanly person, just watch the stream and see all the trolling he does. Of course, he puts on a little bit of a persona when he gets live. But before we go live, it's trash talking from the second you join. And then we go live, and he's like, "Wow, guys, good game. You guys are really playing swell today."
Yeah, but Ryan, you need to change your name to the Ginsu knife guy.
Yeah.
That's all I see you running around with.
Cobra Commander, right?
Yeah.
When I used to play Call of Duty World at War, I used to go by Chef Tony. That was my name.
Chef Tony. I love it.
That's awesome.
Only thing I've got to say is come at me, bros.
You mad, bro?
You mad?
You jelly?
Salty?
Well, if I ever figure out Discord, maybe I'll be able to talk to you guys too. But otherwise, I don't know.
Well, like I said, there's been some issue with Discord lately that it's not picking up the sound outputs right. And I don't know, maybe that's a Pulse Audio thing too.
Well, it might have something to do if you updated to Pulse Audio 12. That might have had something to do with it.
Well, I don't know. When does that 12 come out?
If you were already on like a rolling release distro, it was out. I updated a few days ago.
Yeah, but I'm on Pop OS, so
no, you don't have it. No.
So for some reason, now, okay, I will say that this does switch the audio outputs automatically to other ones that I don't use, but in GNOME, it automatically comes back. So as soon as I switch the audio output back to the right one, no matter what I'm if I'm watching a Firefox, a video in Firefox or something like that, it'll automatically switch the output. If I'm in KDE, I have to restart whatever application it is for it to come through.
But Rocco, do you have fancy inputs and outputs and all sorts of different bits and pieces, or do you just have a set of speakers you want to use?
Yeah, but I have different outputs, but not by my choice. Like there's the HD audio output of the monitor that I never use.
So turn them off.
I did turn them off.
But I've
I
never
did
had
turn
that
them off.
happen. If I've gone through my config in Pulse Audio setup and turn the HDI monitor off, turn the HDI monitor off, turn the speaker on the microphone, which is just for headphones.
I just did that yesterday.
Once I turn them all off, they stay off. So that is really weird.
I just did that yesterday and went through them
You're on
all,
the wrong
turned them all.
key.
Actually, the Blue Yeti has a speakers output as well. And I usually leave that on because just in case I ever want to monitor the audio going through the mic, I leave that on. But I actually turned that one off too, just so that I have one output and one input, and it's still switching.
So Pop OS pops about all over the place.
It's not Pop OS, it's everything right now. So, but like I said, at least GNOME allows me to switch back and not have to restart whatever I'm doing. And that's really frustrating when it's a game and you've launched into the game and you have no sound, and then you got to go all the way back out and then reboot it. EB in the house.
Hey, Steve.
Can't hear us.
English, Bob.
Hey,
So and so.
What's going on, man?
how is one doing this evening or this morning or wherever you are on the planet?
It's the peppermint guy.
It's the
Doing
who?
good.
Sorry, excuse me. Beg your pardon.
On the pep.
Yeah, we know you're loving that peppermint 9.
Yeah, I don't know where these lies and rumours come from. Anyway, I really don't know what's going on here.
I thought it was the main div.
Mm-hmm.
Come on, I took the time to watch your videos.
Which one?
Both of them.
Were
Both
the
of them.
family-friendly
Both of
ones
them.
or off the cuff or?
So tell us, EB, what do you think? Peppermint.
Outstanding. Absolutely outstanding. And I'm loving the feedback I'm getting off everybody. And the feedback overall is very, very positive. But there is some
We're over here,
Feed-
Steve, by the way.
Zeb.
sorry.
Believe that, EB?
Didn't realise. I'm sorry. I like Rolf on the show again. Know what it is yet? Fabulous. So yeah, most of the feedback has been really, really positive. It's been really good. But there has been a few negative feedbacks, which the posters have apologised for, and I've told them not to apologise because negative feedback just helps to bring balance. And people's opinions are both valid and very welcome. Personally, I'm absolutely delighted. I think it's the best release yet. Everything, and I mean absolutely everything, works out the box. And the reason I bang on so much about Peppermint is because, from my point of view, for the little guy, the new guy coming over who doesn't have a Danny LaRue about anything at all, Pep is just perfect. You know, if you're sitting in a bedroom and you're an absolute expert at Linux, you know, if you've done Gentoo or Arch for years, then all right, it's not for you. I get that. But for the ordinary person that doesn't have a clue, out the box, it's beautiful.
Hey, Ryan.
Yeah.
What's a Danny LaRue?
I have no idea. Some English thing.
Clue.
I think it's maybe it's another form of their money, like squids.
It's an opposite of argy bargy.
This is the
Exact
second,
opposite.
second famous person that's been used as a rhyming slang this evening. One has been the Danny the Roo for clue, and Zeb used Pete Tong for wrong earlier.
Yeah.
And I was quite glad to hear both of them pop up.
And something I liked about Peppermint 9 is they have the Nemo file manager, and that one seems to have the most options and tools in it to actually do filing work with Linux.
Except for Duffin.
Well,
And you
reckon-
proved. And
I like-
Alan, did I not say in the Ballistic Overkill stream exactly what happens? That's exactly. what
That was the joke. You're welcome.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
I reckon Nemo's a sensational file manager, to be honest.
Nemo's good, yeah.
Yeah, it was. It is a very good one. And I tell you what's as good, but we just can't
Dolphin?
get it detached from
From
the
KD.
Mate desktop.
Oh.
Is Karja. Karja out of the box is just as good as Nemo, but for some unknown reason, it's intrinsically linked with the Mate desktop. So if you install Karja, you have to install quite a large number of Mate components, and our main developer just can't work out how to get it untangled.
Clearly, none of you noobs have used Ranger.
No, wait a second, because when I installed
Ranger,
I was
what's
playing
that?
around on
Command line file manager.
and I put Ubuntu on it, and I didn't like Thunar or whatever it was, and I just put in what is it, Kaya, I think is the way it's pronounced.
Kaya, yeah.
Yeah, and it worked. I didn't have to do anything else.
No, because it's part of Mate.
No, but I was using Ubuntu just out of curiosity one day.
Yeah, but if you go back next time and when you install Karja, you have also installed a whole raft of Mate components.
So I think Ubuntu have picked up some of the Mate components
Okay.
now, so
They
they
have,
use
yeah.
them by
So that's
default.
why I just did it. Just installed.
Yeah,
They
it's
have.
now part of the default install. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
They've switched to quite a few things, like the terminal. They replaced it with the Mate terminal, stuff like that. But as far as for one, the pronunciation of Kaja, or whatever, the developers have no idea.
It's a bit like Manjaro, or is it
No.
Manjaro?
Manjaro is because it's named after Kilimanjaro, so it's automatically just Manjaro.
Yeah.
But as far as the Kaha thing is, the guy who named it no longer is with the development of the project, and he didn't tell them how to say it. So they don't know how to say it, so they're guessing too. So whatever you pick is probably okay.
Oh, that's choose a name. Let's do it now.
Let's do it.
But
Let's
You heard it here first on Bill.
Let's stick with something that's Linuxy. So we've got to have it spelled Caja, right? That's Kaja, how it's spelled. We don't want it to actually be that word though. So it's got to be like Candyland or something, but spelled Caja, because that's
Like,
how we do stuff.
We'll just
No,
go
no,
with
that-
Kahoo.
No, Caja is how you pronounce Herbstluft.
Yeah, there you go. It's got to be something real like fancy.
Yeah, filibuster. That'll do.
Filibuster.
But I think the reason why Kaja and Nemo are so good, it's because they were both Nautilus before they ruined Nautilus.
Yeah, they were forks of Nautilus when it was not.
When Nautilus was good, yeah.
Yeah, when they didn't destroy it.
Yeah.
But as far as like, I think obviously the Dolphin is the best file manager.
Yeah, but nobody. I mean, if you're not running Plasma, you're not going to use Dolphin.
You could, but not
If
that
you're a
attitude.
madman,
Yeah, you don't want to do that.
I mean,
You don't wanna
more
do that.
importantly, just people should just use Plasma. Problem solved.
But Derek,
I love
give props to this.
Plasma.
You can use Ranger anywhere and it messes up nothing.
But
I
you know
love
what?
Plasma.
Ranger even is too bloated. You could just open up a terminal and just CD around everywhere. And
That's
I
true.
heard
That's true.
Microsoft have open sourced WinFile. You could just use that. Why don't you
Yeah,
use the Windows
sure.
File manager.
That would be
Ranger's too
so
bloated.
cool. You don't even need wine, right?
So, Rocco, may I ask what distro are you on this week, mate?
Pop OS, sir.
Pop OS.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I've been on it for how long now? It's got to be at
3
least
days.
No, come on. It's got to be at least a month.
It's got to be a
Right.
month.
I'd say
Yeah.
2 weeks. Is it?
No,
It's got to be at least a month.
But I like how EB's his question is automatically leading this week.
Yeah.
to be
So
fair,
there.
I-
So there.
we need to qualify this, though. He tried to hop to Antergos Gnome this week, but the installation failed, or otherwise he'd be on something different.
There's no need to bring that up.
So Rocco, what distro is kind of calling to you? Because even though you haven't hopped and you've stayed committed to that, congratulations. Which one are you like really wanting to try?
None.
Really?
No, I'm just kidding. I'm waiting for
Peppermint.
Juno because
Peppermint.
obviously that's going to be awesome. I installed Peppermint on another drive and it was running great, except now it won't boot. No fault of Peppermint. It's an error on the hard drive, I guess. And you know, I guess I don't know. I'm going to need a new SSD because there's been too many installs, too many overwrites on that drive.
So we actually met the what is it, like 300 million rewrite
Yep.
you've hit? That's
Oh no,
amazing.
no. This is amazing because they've actually like the latest versions of SSD, depending on how old the SSD is. Some of them can get to like the rewrites of like the petabyte
16
stuff.
petabytes, yeah.
Yeah,
This is a Samsung 850.
Yeah, so that just means that Rocco distro hops every day, all the time.
Wow, he did 75 years of rewrites. Because that's what they say they last 75.
That is impressive, Rocco.
Well, I'm wondering. Okay, so I'm asking you guys because it seems to be an error, and I would assume near the front of the drive, because it always happens on the boot up.
Now,
We're trying to
Rocco,
load the kernel. So the question is, if I partition it and don't use that first, say, half of the drive.
Is this an SSD?
SSDs
Yeah.
don't
There
work
is
like
no
that, though.
there is no
No.
concept of
Yeah.
front of the drive.
Yeah.
They're chips.
Okay, so is there any way to format it so that I don't use the part that there's an error in?
No, just
No.
throw the drive away.
That's so awesome.
hey Rocco, wasn't it about a month ago
Yeah,
that
when
we
they-
had a run with the Dolphin on the show, and he was talking about having SSD drives fail, and I
Yeah.
mentioned that all my drives were Samsung. I think you did too, and he said that's
Yep.
the ones he was having fails. The Samsung 850E.
It might have been.
The 850 regular has problems, but the Pro supposedly is the better one.
This was an Evo. Yeah, regular.
Yeah, that's what I have as a regular 850 in here, and it's so far not going to have been fine. So don't jinx me.
Yeah, because Dolphin said he had like
Well-
3 of them fail. So
Yeah,
Just don't do
my main
70.
drive's an 850 Pro, apart from the NVMe one. But yeah, that's been written to. I don't know how.
So Rocco, when you say it doesn't boot, does it just not do anything? It's just dead?
What comes up? It comes up to the screen where it says hit enter for maintenance.
Okay.
Or Control D.
So there's this thing that that seems like that's your BIOS build booting to that. So there's this one problem that Samsung, especially the Avos, and also Crucials, some of the Crucial drives have the same thing, where they will look like they're dead, but they're not. So like it'll trigger something like a power loss or power failure will trigger an issue that creates it where the drive thinks it's dead, but it's really just a cache issue on the drive. And when you can turn it on and then power on for like 20 minutes and then turn it off and then do it again and repeat the cycle like 3 times. And then the third time, like after the third time, it will reset that cache and the drive will work again.
Yep. So if you have an external caddy for it, you could do it on your laptop.
I don't.
But you can get one for like $8-9, and that would
Yeah.
probably revive that drive because it sounds exactly like the issue he was talking about. And if it's an older version of the Evo, they were known for that problem.
Yeah. And it's,
Well, didn't they have a firmware? Is that part of the firmware issue that they had in some of them? 840s though too. It started, and then early 850s.
the 850s, if it's like 2 years ago or older, the 850s are also susceptible to it.
Yeah, it's not that old. Maybe that's. Yeah. And I'm not
There's-
writing to it every other day, so.
What it's more like there's certain things that just trigger it to happen. So it's not that it's like being used too much.
Yeah.
It's like also Crucials had the same, like the Crucial 100
MX 300.
MX 100 and the 300 had it. I had a 100 have do the exact same thing.
So have you
So
run
let me ask you a
self-test?
question. Let me ask you a question. If I have it in the Orico.
Mhm.
So if I do the power cycle on that, will that do that?
The problem is you don't want it to try to boot anything. You don't want it to try to run. You just want it to be on. You just want it to have power and not connect to a motherboard. So if you
boot to the
disable this,
BIOS. You
I mean,
just
but
boot
I
to
can
the BIOS and you won't boot anything. Then boot to the
Yes.
BIOS, or
Then
just
turn it
press the F12 key or whatever the button is for the boot menu, but don't
F8,
actually
yeah.
choose anything, and then
Yeah.
leave it on for 20 seconds. Then pull the power, take the battery out, so that if it can be removed, I assume, so when you're pulling the power cable out, it properly kills it dead.
well, there's also like some of the drives, depending on which model it is. It depends on the amount of time you should have it running.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's what I said. The power button on the drive itself for the bay would kill all the power to it, right?
Yes, but your motherboard's connected to it still.
Yeah, it's your motherboard.
You need to disconnect the motherboard connector
Yep.
to it and then put it.
But I'm
back in
saying
with just
I
power.
could,
Yeah.
I could
Yeah.
do that. I could boot into the BIOS and then
Yes.
just unplug the SATA part of it, and then just
You can
use
actually
power
have it
cycle.
booted if as long as you have the SATA cord unplugged. You could just you could be using it and just turn on the power, and then it'll power it up. And because it's not connected to the motherboard, it won't try to mount or anything. That's the problem, is that it can't do anything other than be powered. So as long as you remove that, you can use your computer and still do it.
Yeah.
So if I may just interrupt, I've got a question for Das Google, if that's okay.
Oh yeah.
Ryan, first of all, absolutely loving your enthusiasm and passion for AMD.
Yeah.
But I've got a question for you.
Yeah.
Do forgive me. Is AMD Vega just the inbuilt APU, or is it an external card that's a replacement for Raiden?
So it's the external card, and it's their competition for NVIDIA 1070 would be the Vega 56, and the Vega 64 is your competition for the 1080. Now they've been ridiculously priced right up until this point because they also happen to be the best cards you can get for mining, Bitcoin mining, as well as being amazing GPUs, external GPUs. So because of that, they've been out of price, but now they're starting to drop dramatically so you can get them. But yeah, it would be your exact equivalent to a 1070 or a 1080. The thing I love about it within Linux is no drivers. I don't have to go hunt down proprietary drivers. I literally just install distro, start using it, and I can game in it right away as well without having to do anything. And that has been such an incredible experience.
Yeah, Steve, I think you're thinking of the 2400 series that they just came out with, because those have some Vega graphics built into the APU.
Yes,
spot
because
on, Joe. The reason I got confused is because it seems now the standard esports, and I do emphasize esports grade of gaming PC, is now something like a Ryzen, I think it's 2400, because it's got an inbuilt Vega APU.
Yeah.
And even the APU on board out the box absolutely blows sort of all esport quality games like CSGO, that sort of thing away.
Mm-hmm.
And, and that's where I was getting a bit confused with the Vega. I didn't know if the Vega was an external card and an APU.
It's a stack. I mean, it's a model, but it's also the stack that they use.
Yeah, and the 2400s, they're still going to have limitations on, the settings, because medium should do well, but to try to run some of them on high are going to, depending on the game, are going to have limitations.
Yeah, a lot of games are CPU intensive, even though they do call to the graphics driver, obviously, for the modeling and that type of the shadows and all of that. But a lot of those games like CSGO, for instance, are heavy CPU. You got to it's good to have a GPU for it because you can get more out of it, but it pushes more of my Ryzen 7 2700 than it does my GPU when I play CSGO. Unlike Ballistic Overkill, for instance, which moves a lot of the work over to the GPU. So it also depends on how they coded the particular games for that. So depending on the game, the esports game, CSGO being heavily reliant on CPU, I have no doubt that they would look for that type of combo and it would do extraordinarily well in that scenario, whereas it might not do as well, say, with a Tomb Raider.
The thing is, Ryan, is that from the PC builders I've been talking to, now and again, they're all telling me, a Ryzen 2200, 2400 is a fantastic, it's the best budget build on the planet. The only fly in the ointment is when the prospective buyer mentions one of two games, either Fortnite or PUBG, and then you're screwed because the APU on the board isn't real for CSGO or, no problem at all.
Right.
Things like PUBG or Fortnite, you've really got to have an external card that's powerful enough.
Well, that's because Fortnite is designed to be like very graphic intensive and very stylized, and it looks very nice. Even though it's like its style is very like cartoony, some people don't like that, but it's very stylized, and they put a lot of effort in the shaders and all this other stuff. And PUBG is garbage.
Yeah. It's just PUBG garbage.
Have you guys noticed on the Ballistic Overkill? Have you noticed high FPS? Because I've noticed that game's a very light and very clean running game. At least on my machine, I'm always well over 100 FPS. When it's first loading up, it's like 1100. I thought, wow, I got to screenshot this just to prove it. But
well, if you go into their experimental, you can get ridiculous. Like I've been getting 170, 180 frames per second when not recording. within Ballistic Overkill. You can also run Vulkan in it because it supports Vulkan, and that's an incredible experience if you want to see some ridiculous frames per second with the Vega series. Also in the NVIDIA series, for that matter, when you were running Vulkan, did incredibly well.
Hey, Ryan, I have a question about the Vega. Screen tearing in KDE Plasma, how is that versus NVIDIA?
Doesn't exist.
It doesn't exist?
Nope. No screen tearing at all.
I was just wondering if switching to AMD would solve all those problems.
Yep, I have absolutely none of the screen tearing, none of the fonts that in KDE Neon, for instance, would give you all of the hieroglyphics at times, or the menu fonts were screwed up. None of that. It's they literally must test everything on AMD, every dev there, because the NVIDIA stuff is such a horrible experience a lot of times with KDE and with.
I bet it's just the graphics because the drivers are built into the kernel. So this is like, I think that's just automatic now.
Yeah.
The good thing is, EB, you can now pick up a Vega 64 in the UK for $499.
Really?
That's not bad.
But how does that compare to the RXs? Is it just better than the RXs?
Yeah, it's better.
Oh yeah.
By a country mile? Because a lot of
I
the
wouldn't
RXs
say a country mile. I mean, the RX is such a good card. Like the 580,
Yeah.
such a powerhouse.
It's like a mid tier.
Yeah,
Like it's like a mid tier, high end mid tier though.
I mean, if you get your hands on a 580, or even if you use dual 580s, because you can do that too, set up a bridge between them, they can cook. So those are very powerful cards, and you're gonna be able to play every game great. If you just want to be ridiculous and play everything on Ultra, that's where you get into the Vegas 56 and 64 lines. And I won't have the 64 until tomorrow, but I'll let you know how well it does.
Yeah, Newegg has
Ryan, I'd love to see you do a couple of videos on esport class games on a Ryzen with just an APU, and just crystal clear that this isn't a plug-in card. You know, for argument's sake, for $350, you can do this build with 8 gig, and it will absolutely eat esport games. Because the esport games are still really popular, aren't they? Apart from
they're more popular than they ever have been.
Newegg's got the 56 for $499 here. So
Ryan, with your I think you got the Ryzen 7
2700X. Yeah.
Does that have an APU built in?
That's what I was just looking up, because I always get a separate GPU, so I don't even pay attention. I think it does.
So you could take your Ryzen 56, you could take your Vega 56 out and see how it runs.
Mm-hmm. But more importantly, you know, find out how well Rocket League runs on it.
Right.
but more importantly, Ryan is one of the few people that will do it on Linux, because the world and his daughter do it on the Winblows, which is useless. To, you know, at least Ryan will give us a really good balanced view on the Linux and say, look, if you haven't got a lot of money, if you stick whatever distro on this build of PC for $350, you're eating CSGO, you're eating World of Tanks, you're eating XYZ. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that was my mission originally when I started my channel. I mean, not when I started, but when I started in Linux, was to put just every video I was watching, everyone like, look at Linux on this old 1984 laptop. I'm like, well, I'm going to take the best stuff I can afford, stick it in a computer, and see how Linux does. And it's ridiculously good. It rocks.
Yeah, but I love your passion on that. I love your passion on that, Ryan. Please keep it going, because you can feel your excitement. Hey, look, this is AMD. And I also get the feeling from PC builders, whereas the norm was always Intel/NVIDIA. That was it. That's your lot. You're done.
Well, I mean, for like 10 years, AMD was garbage. So
No, you're right, Michael. You're spot on. But now that it seems to be like an unnatural excitement. Hey, you want to do gaming? It's AMD. You're done. That's it.
I'm mad at AMD for waiting until after I already bought my components.
yeah. But anyway, EB, you've got to change the subject, because Ryan's getting praise, and that's not what we do on the show.
Whoa! Well, here, I got a question for you, Ryan.
Yeah.
Because Randy said in chat that his son works for Dell, and he said Google's not the problem. He said Apple and Microsoft you got to worry about.
For what?
Privacy.
Oh. Yeah, because Google. Well, I mean, look
about them.
Yeah.
He's trolling you, dude.
Yeah, that started a few years ago.
So what's the talk about? Charlie talked about the Unity 2018 patch, and it's going to support multi-core and multi-thread for games that are made with the Unity game thing. So is that going to is that going to open up us to basically any future games? It's not going to be able to be used for games that were made or previously.
Yeah, if a game developer wants to, redevelop their existing games, they can. It's not as, because they use the Unity engine. There's a lot of things you can do a lot easier than trying to build a game from scratch or build it from an engine that's not already supporting Linux. And the Unity engine has been supporting Linux for a very long time, so it's possible that they could do that. They probably won't, but.
Well, it was interesting because I saw there was a Reddit post going, and I don't recall the game, but the developer was kind of doing an AMA, and they go, "Will you please bring this to Linux?" And he goes, "Oh, I always keep forgetting to push that button to export to a Linux version. Like it's that easy. Like just within the
Unity, it pretty much is, yeah."
And so
it's a checkbox.
He
did
it,
build for Linux
and turned it on for people to have the Linux option. But if it's that easy, I mean, if it's getting that easy to port games, hopefully it continues that way in other engines as well, then that's a really good sign for Linux in gaming, I think.
The part about Unity is that it's basically just a checkbox to build the version, but they have to do all this testing and stuff, and most of the time in those cases the independents they don't really test it. They just here, put it out.
The other big problem with Unity specifically is that people don't just build their games using Unity. They use third-party plugins, tools, middleware, and some of those only work on Windows. And so
like that ban system and stuff like that.
Yeah, BDLL. So even if the game itself could be, they could spit out a Linux binary if they're using some third-party plugin to implement some feature of the game that they don't want to rewrite themselves. If that's not ported to Linux, then that's just a hard block on making a Linux version, and that is a blocker on some games.
Yeah, I mean that's why Fortnite isn't possible, right?
That's one part of. Well, that's why Fortnite won't work in Wine, because BDLL it doesn't work under Wine, but that it's entirely up to them whether they port Fortnite to Linux. But that it's Unreal Engine, so it can spit out Linux binaries. But
I mean, they made Unreal Engine; they could totally do it.
Yeah, totally. Potentially, yeah. Unless there are other third-party things like BDLL and other things that.
I asked them if they had any plans to do a Linux version, and they straight up said just no. And that's it.
Wow.
I find it amazing that a cottage sort of quality software house like SCS with Euro Truck and American Truck, they just port their game straight over natively to Linux, and it's fantastic. And yet you have arguably the most streamed game on the planet, Fortnite. No, not interested.
Yeah, they'll give you an iOS version, an Android version, but can't get you a Linux version.
But the return on that investment isn't enough. The amount of engineering
and yet they port it to Mac. Most AAAs have automatically ported to Mac, so it's not that big of a deal. If you're porting to a Unix base anyway, then really, it's that big a deal.
Well, yes, if the middleware and other parts that they need ported aren't ported, then those things either need to be rewritten or they need to get the upstream developer to. But don't you find?
But don't you find it amazing, Alan, that, like I say, a bedroom software house like SCS.
They don't use certain things that they don't use the middleware. Like, for example, they have no reason for a punk buster or whatever. There's no, they have no ban system necessary, so they don't have to deal with that kind of middleware.
Right. They just happen to not be using third-party tools that are only available on Windows, and it's the big problem is that the engineering effort required.
Can you stop defending the software houses here? I'm sorry, that's not acceptable.
It's not defending.
I'm telling you the facts because I've speak to people who port games, and they tell me this as fact. So I'm not defending anyone. I'm just telling you the state of affairs.
He was winding you up, by the way, Alan.
Great.
He loves a good argy-bargy.
5 o'clock in the morning.
That sounds kind of like your interview or what a show you're on with Chris Fisher the other day, where you got a little bit excited there too, Alan. I heard you.
Yeah. EB, it's 5 o'clock in the morning. And hasn't been
unplugged.
Kind of jumped out.
I said he's 5 o'clock in the morning, and Alan hasn't been to bed yet.
Yeah, well, he's just a lightweight, isn't he? Let's be his new.
He's just
Welcome to the pleasure zone. What's the matter with the guy? He's English. Get him.
Well, at least he doesn't have horns beeping outside his window tonight. Or this evening.
So, Alan, you said about like the Battle Eye. Is that something that is not running on Mac? Is that a Windows only thing?
No, that's the Battle Eye part. Is that doesn't work under Wine? That's been cited as the main reason why Fortnite won't run under Wine. Is because Battle Eye.
Well, yeah, I get it that it's not going to work on Linux, but does that work on Mac?
I don't know.
Okay.
So,
It's
quick
possible
question about
they make a. It's possible they make a build for Mac as well.
Is PUBG available for Mac?
I don't know.
No.
No, it's Windows only.
It's just a
It's
purely-
Windows and Xbox and Android.
Yeah. Okay.
Troy.
Gotcha.
Quick question
Yeah.
to you guys about Rise of the Tomb Raider, the 20-year celebration. Is
Yeah.
that the newest one that we were talking about last week?
Let me check.
Rise of the
it-
Tomb Raider is the newest one.
Is the
yes.
newest, yes.
Rise of the Tomb Raider, because that's on the Steam sale and it's only £12.
Yes.
It's
Yep.
a fantastic game.
The
Is it
Steam
really?
sale always
Yeah.
comes when you don't have money, though.
Of course.
70%
Why
off.
do they do that? Why are they so rude? And then after we do
we've been
it,
sitting here talking like I've purchased like 4 games. I really got to go to bed before I go broke.
Well,
the
Rose
Black
wants
Friday
to know.
one's going to do it again.
Rose wants to know in the chat. She says, so following this chat, it seems AMD is producing and making firmware that would make Linux well supported versus NVIDIA and Intel.
Yeah.
Is that right or wrong?
I wouldn't put Intel into that category. Intel's always done well, at least
Yeah,
in my
yeah.
limited 2 years of experience with Linux. Intel's always seemed to run very well. I think AMD is doing a lot in the open source community when it comes to the GPU side of things.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the AMD Ryzen and the Intel, I never had issues with either of them. I had the i7 6700K before I went to the Ryzen, and I had many machines that were Intel based. I never had an issue. I had the Ryzen 3 before I had this Ryzen 7, never had an issue. Now, when it comes to GPUs, it's a different story. And that's because the open source NVIDIA drivers are horrendous when it comes to gaming. They're fine if you just want to do like open up a browser or
Yeah.
play
Everything
a
else is
text
great.
editor. But anything if you
Play
want to do
text
any
editor.
type of rendering or GPU intensive activities with your GPU, imagine that, it just doesn't work well. I think when I went to the NVIDIA 1080 and I'd removed the drivers, I was getting like 11 frames per second on 1080 on CSGO. It was CSGO. Yeah. It was terrible. It was insanely bad.
The Nuvo drivers are not good though.
They're terrible.
But
And
they
so
pulled they
AMD,
pulled their support though for drivers over the last few years. They kind of gave up a little bit.
no,
there.
I have seen some
No, the
articles
open source
recently.
drivers have nothing to do with NVIDIA anyway.
I have
No,
seen
I'm talking about
some.
AMD.
Yeah, AMD's done an incredible job with their
Oh,
open
yeah.
source, and in fact, they're putting most of their effort into the open source. And on their website itself, it tells you don't install the GPU Pro unless you have a specific application for it, because we're spending, most of, if you're doing gaming or your general purpose stuff, the open source driver is where all the activities at. And so it's fantastic out of the box. You get incredible frames per second out of it. But I've heard NVIDIA is doing more with Wayland. They figured out some things between it. So I don't want it to be a blame thing with NVIDIA. And I never really believed.
Oh, it's NVIDIA's fault for sure.
I never really believed that idea that it was all NVIDIA's fault that everybody was saying. I thought it was somewhere in between. And but it seems like I've read some articles that from Phoronix that NVIDIA is coming back to the table and doing some things that are helping Wayland out. And so, but AMD,
It's NVIDIA's fault because they refused to use certain parts of the kernel, and they wanted to use their own EGL stream structure. And now what they're doing is making the EGL stream structure work with stuff in the kernel. So
but they weren't doing it just because they're bad people, right?
But you know what Linus says?
What
about
reason?
NVIDIA?
What reason wouldn't you like?
They don't want to release they're not getting the performance they want out of the cars. They feel it degrades their performance, or they didn't understand it enough at the time to work through it to make sure that it's going to have the performance they want on their product. I mean, you're talking a company who has basically dominated the market of GPUs is not going to want to stick there and say, look, we support Wayland and you get 20 frames per second on a 1080. They're going to want to make
but they
sure
could
it
say,
works
hey,
very well before they jump to do that.
The built-in drivers that the kernel is using to make Wayland work better, we should use that because it would make our drivers work
Wayland
better.
doesn't even work well on AMD. So I mean,
that's why I said better. Specifically, that's a relative term to the little ambiguous. Yes, that's fair. But anyway, they purposefully ignore what's what everybody is requesting of them, and they refuse to do it because they want to do it proprietary wise. So like as far as like NVIDIA goes, it is definitely NVIDIA's fault. There are certain cases where the reason why it doesn't work is because the developers on the Wayland side or the DE side or the compositor side are like, you know, putting their foot in the sand, kind of like, yeah, you won't work with us, we won't work with you, kind of thing. So
that's
like
what I'm saying. This is not an NVIDIA. I don't think it's just an NVIDIA being a bad guy here. They've supported Linux. They've released their drivers for Linux. They have continued to release new revamped versions week after or month after month. In this case, we'll be even talking about.
Yeah, but that's
tomorrow.
like the community has been fighting them the entire time. And they're
released
doing
their
it because they
drivers.
have to.
Yeah, I mean, they released their drivers. If you buy an $800 video card, I would hope they would release drivers for me. I mean,
Oh no, they don't care about that part. They have to because of the whole enterprise structure of Linux running, like everything outside of the desktop. Linux dominates.
Yeah,
So
the
they
server
have to
market.
make they have to make stuff work with that system because they don't have a choice. So in that case, like that's why they've been supported for so long. They really didn't have any other choice not to. Like they couldn't just ignore it because then they'd have so many enterprise companies abandoning them.
So can I just make a quick statement and a question for Daz, Google, and Alan? Right, the statement: is it a fair assumption that all developers are lazy, slack jaw exploiters? And secondly, have I ever got to worry about Vulkan becoming adopted by game developers?
Vulkan's fantastic, so yeah, hopefully.
Yeah, on 2 games. So really, I mean, are we ever the Vulkan?
Well, yeah, but Vulkan's also pretty new.
Yeah,
I hope Vulkan becomes a big deal. I really do, because the performance I've seen out of it, I think it's an incredible technology. The problem with Vulkan and why you haven't seen it adopted is, you know, the game cycle, especially for AAA games, can be 4 to 6 years. You're not going to take a bunch of coders and rechange all of what they've been coding the entire time in the middle of a development cycle. I have seen a lot more games announcing Vulkan support, that the developers are at least talking about it. So I'm hoping Vulkan does pick up because it does provide them a lot more control as well of calling to your specific hardware within Vulkan, which with developers who are wanting to push the limits of their games is a very, very important aspect to have for them. So I hope Vulkan does pick up more and more.
So it really all comes down to my original statement then.
They're all lazy. No,
just slack jaws.
I think they're used to what they're used to, and it's very hard to get anybody. It would be like saying, "Hey, you can code in this language, but tomorrow we want you to code in this language." I mean, it's a very difficult thing to switch.
Just a quick word of warning, though, English Bob. If ever we do meet up in a pub again and Popey turns up, just
we will. we will. Don't worry, Popey, he's going to have it large. Don't worry about that.
Because that slack-jaw developers remark is going to get
my youngest son is a developer. You know,
even I wouldn't stand up to Popey.
Oh, I will. Yeah, I'll have it large. I don't mind.
Popey doesn't consider himself a developer anyway.
Well, I'll have it large.
They'll work it out over some Marmite.
How's the Marmite going, Derek?
Oh, I haven't done the Marmite challenge yet. I haven't ordered it.
I'm trying to find it.
Yeah.
Really?
I need to order it at tuxdigital.com/Amazon.
Yes,
Marmite.
Yes, you do.
Derek, how's that?
Wait, can you do that?
Challenge was.
You can now.
Derek, how's that i7 laptop with the red badge underneath?
It was good, other than there wasn't an i7 in that laptop.
It wasn't, no.
No. But it was an AMD A8. It was mislabeled. It's mislabeled on the laptop. When I installed Deepin, it was running AMD Radeon graphics. I was like, that's interesting for an Intel chip. So check it out. Yeah. Well, I get the guy that sold it to me on eBay. He's done like 20,000 transactions on eBay, and I like the machine. I've already put an SSD drive and got it running. I told him, I really want to keep the machine anyway, but it's not what I planned on buying, So I said, you know what? I want to upgrade the RAM. If you can help me out on a stick of RAM, we're square. He sent me 2 sticks, 4 gigs of RAM, 4 gigs. So,
that was nice.
So we're straight.
Cool.
Yeah.
So he gets a 5-star rating then, even though it was slightly mislabeled, yeah?
Yeah.
So, Alan, did you hear what the Marmite challenge was?
No.
They can't just put a little bit on toast. They've got to put a teaspoon of Marmite and carry on talking.
No. As far as the toast, you have to try it with the toast first. But
Why would
I
anyone
said
do that?
I said I would voluntarily do that. I would voluntarily do that. I will do it.
We couldn't
I
find
just-
that stuff.
I just added it to my cart on Amazon. Go to
Why don't-
touchdealer.com/Amazon.
Why don't you just spread it on buttered toast like a normal person?
No, I think we should take a spoonful.
Because that's not a challenge. You
Yeah.
got to do the
Well,
challenge.
it seems to be.
You can't find it in the U.S.
It's making such a big
At all.
deal about eating a
I can't.
yeast-based
It's
toast
you can't.
thing.
You can't order. You got to get it online. There's no way. I couldn't find it anywhere.
I think it's like banned, like a chemical weapon.
It must be. It must be. I know Bovril has to be because just the description of it sounds disgusting. So it has to be.
It's yeast extract. It's a byproduct of producing beer. It's yeast extract.
Yeah,
Sounds delicious.
I love how every conversation with Americans always devolves down to yeast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It does.
Wait. Australian pit brought up yeast. We didn't do it.
But we have 2 yeast products in the UK which have stood the test of time. The first one is Marmite, which I'm sure Colin's equivalent is Vegemite. And the second one is the drink of men, of course, Bovril. And both are very, very
The drink of men.
the drink of men.
I've got a question for you gamers. We were talking about Rise of the Tomb Raider, and I just went to buy it, and it says, no, don't bother because you've already got it. But the version I've got is what came with the machine 2 years ago, so it can't be the same version. Or
Was
is
it just come out? I think it was 2 years old. I think it's about 2 years old.
But wasn't it the latest thing that we were going to talk to Ferrell about before the release, blah, blah, blah?
Yeah, Rise of the Tomb Raider. Yeah, there's Tomb Raider and there's also Rise of the Tomb Raider.
But they didn't port it till, let me see. You may have got it for Windows back then. They didn't port it when it first came out. They
Gotcha. So because I've
it
got
was
it
new
on
to
Windows,
Linux, but not necessarily new to.
Yeah.
If you own it on Windows, they had already said that it'll automatically you'll have it in your library.
it's not another 34 minutes and it'll be installed.
Nice. You're gonna
And
enjoy
it's
that.
gig.
That's the way the Steam handles it. So if you no matter where you buy it, as long as you buy it, that doesn't matter. So you can
Sweet.
download whatever
If
version.
you look at the store page, it says it was released 9th of February 2016.
It's
So-
brand new, dude.
Yeah. So that's when
just
I got
like
it.
just
So
like American Truck Simulator.
I'm still not
brand new to
going to get off the mountain though, so you'll have to tell me how to get that last jump. Because I just fall down.
You'll get
there
it.
every
You'll get it.
time. It's just
You just keep
crazy.
trying, Zeb.
So, what's the game that everybody's is there any plan to do like? Because I caught, I think it was a live stream in the week with Rocco and DT and Michael. Was it Ballistic Overkill or something?
Yeah,
Yes.
you missed
Yeah.
another one today. They did another one, and Popey was in there giving them large
Yeah.
as well.
AB, it's on the summer Steam sale if you want to get it.
Yeah,
It's
man.
only six.
Hang
Well,
on.
it's actually probably
Hang on.
less. It's probably like $5.
Hang on.
Five.
You had
squid.
a developer playing games with you, really?
I'm
Really?
not a developer.
Let me know.
Like-
that one.
Just so you know, I'm not a developer.
No, he's customer service. Get it straight.
Customer service.
You buy in denial.
Sorry, Gal.
And EB, I'm just saying Rocket League is $9.99.
No, don't worry about the Rocket League. That's
Just
a
saying.
that's a game for
$9.99.
children.
Why don't you guys play a team game such as
That's right.
Rocket League is a team game. Ballistic Overkill is a team game, sort of.
Yeah, for what? 4 players?
No,
No,
six.
Six aside.
Oh,
Yeah.
6. Wow.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Jump in the server. To six
EB, you got to
guys.
join us in Ballistic Overkill.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but Steve, if you get in the server, kind of like I did, you just wind up on the opposite team. You still can play against each other.
Can you get your own server though for Ballistic Overkill?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Mhm.
That would
Apart
be
from-
so cool.
Can you?
I think they
make
have
a game?
dedicated servers, yeah.
Yeah,
Can you
it's
make
not.
a
Oh, it's
game
not.
by invite only. Because
Yeah,
it would
You
be
do a
really
password
fun.
protected one.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
I
we-
can create
so-
a server, password protect it, and everyone can
Yeah,
jump
but
in.
it,
So
like
we
Zeb
can have the
said,
Brits versus the
perfect.
Yanks.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but you could also have the Biddle or the Destination Linux team versus chat. How cool would that be? And then you
Oh, that's a good idea.
really cool
What,
interaction.
74 against 3. Yeah, cheers, mate.
Yeah, we would
Yeah.
get destroyed.
You would need more, Zeb. You would need more help.
Wow.
We're in the middle
I
of
said-
battling the UK right now. It's US versus UK. We've got Popey and Wimpy versus me and Rocco and Michael and all that. Well, we're going to keep adding more US people until the UK is just Wimpy and Popey and about 8 of us over in the US, and then
Well,
it
sorry,
might.
boys. I may be Destination Linux, but the flag comes first.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Dude.
Right in there with this side.
If we're having US versus the Brits, I'm in with Alan and Wimpy.
Fine, Zeb.
Whatever, Zeb.
Yeah,
The only
big
thing I
loss
can
for us.
the only thing I can say about that is pip pip.
And I've got a secret weapon lined up as well. My 28-year-old daughter's going to play instead of me.
Uh-huh.
She,
That's all right.
Okay, I'm
Camera's
scared now.
on him, and he just makes
Zeb.
it look like he's moving.
Zeb, she will die as easily as you do. Simple as that.
Be careful, guys, when you're doing a DL show. He's got the offline button.
When she's on the COD 3 servers, she's always in the top 3.
Wow.
She'll die just as easily.
Oh, dang.
Saying.
I told you all Rocco was a trash talker.
See, Rocco is
The
savage.
challenge is down. Forget the
Just saying.
DL is going down by
Okay.
Nicola XX.
Savage.
Say, I was shocked at how stealthy and cheeky Michael, you're a good little game dude.
No, he plays dirty. He cheats.
No, I love some of his ninja kills. It was very British.
Very British.
You like how he uses that auto aim?
Hang on,
How do you auto aim with a sword? What are you talking about?
Carefully.
Carefully, yeah.
Tonight, the banter between Ryan and Alan was just brilliant. Oh, yeah, go on, don't worry about it. Stabbed me in the back, and Alan went, well, I'll shoot you in the face as well.
Yeah, you can tell he's used to trash talking. He wasn't no rookie to trash talk.
I don't know what you're talking about.
For me, the coolest thing about these sorts of streams, which I love, by the way, Rocco, keep doing, is, I know this is going to sound a bit silly, but you're all actually doing something with Linux rather than just talking about it. How cool is that? And I think that's really infectious. Really infectious.
Good point.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, that was the whole point of streaming Ballistic Overkill the other day, because it's a game it's an awesome game that you can play on Linux.
No. The reason why we decided to do that was because Ryan said, "Hey, you want to stream?" I'm like, yeah, okay.
Well,
No, the other one.
that
The
was
one with
the
me and you,
intent.
Michael. The one with me and you.
The reason
And
I decided to stream was
Oh,
because
okay.
it
Right,
stops
right. I forgot about
Rocco
that.
from talking trash. As
No, it
soon as
doesn't.
you hit that stream button, he becomes a kind gentleman. When that stream button is not hit, it is a completely different story.
Did you? I noticed that. See, if you listen to the beginning of the stream today, you'll hear Rocco just yelling at me. He's just so mean and ruthless. And he goes, "Hey, we're streaming," and Rocco's like, "Oh, so how are you doing?"
Hi, everybody.
I have to be honest, Rocco. I think the truth is starting to inch out.
Oh, really?
I think Ryan gets a very tough, rough ride.
That's
and
right.
quite a special little guy, you know.
Yeah.
And I think, Ryan is the US equivalent of me, a verbal punch bag.
It was going so well there until the end.
Where's my bucket? Hang on.
The curly king's off, Here we go. Love
Yeah, that's right. So we're getting close to the end here, so we have to decide what we're going to do for next week's distro challenge.
I think
Marmite.
Popey should pick. Popey
Well,
should pick.
I don't think Michael should pick. That was terrible.
Definitely not, Michael.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
didn't pick. I didn't pick.
Hey,
okay,
Derek-
if you
Derek
want to
said it.
challenge, if you want to
Derek
challenge,
said it. We're going with it.
Spoonful of Marmite.
Yeah, I've got no
And
problem.
Marmite. I'll throw you an even better challenge. Include Vegemite in amongst that as well.
Well,
Yes.
all of us come on with a jar of Marmite and take a spoonful.
whilst having a drink. Bovril.
Well, it's on Amazon. If you do next day shipping, I mean, you guys can go ahead and start practicing for next week.
Yeah.
No, it's in the cart right now. It's
Wow.
happening. It's happening.
By the way,
I mean-
can I just say, I absolutely love the expression on Alan's face. You lot are all getting off on Marmite, and Alan's like, what am I doing here? Really? Really?
I could be
I
sleeping.
think he was saying that the minute he walked in.
I mean, I am looking forward to having my breakfast in an hour, but and it will be Marmite. Yeah.
So come on in, Popey. The next week's challenge is down to you. What have we all got to do?
my
But this week's
Pick a
challenge.
distro. It can be anything.
And be sure to pick something that wants something that you're not going to show up for, so you don't have to do it like Ryan does.
Yes.
Yeah. That's my MO.
Have you done KDE Neon?
No.
We've
No,
not
I
done that
think we
challenge.
have.
We can
You
do
should
that.
totally do KDE.
I don't mind
KDE
looking
Neon.
at that. Yeah.
You should
All
totally
right.
do that.
It's KD
Okay.
Neon.
Well, should we
Okay,
do
yeah.
KDE Neon or Kubuntu?
No, KDE Neon.
KD
Why?
Neon.
Why?
Because it has newer versions of everything.
Yeah, we're
Well,
gonna
it has
get
newer
back-
versions of Plasma
And-
and applications, and then nothing else.
Mm-hmm.
Michael, he
So-
said what the challenge is.
It
Let
was
it
his
go.
choice. The challenge will be KD Neon. So
That's
that's
the challenge.
that's
don't-
everybody's
Wow.
homework.
I mean,
you'd like it.
okay. As long as it's Plasma, I'm good with it. Really.
Yeah, why
I
are
was just-
you arguing? I
Wait a
mean,
minute, Michael.
yeah.
You were the guy just several months ago that every other word was KDE Neon out of your
Yeah.
mouth. Now all of a sudden,
Yeah.
Derek.
wow.
And then,
What's wrong with
yeah,
you?
and then I participated with Kubuntu, and now every word is Kubuntu. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
Derek, you said 3 words there that didn't really make any sense.
I'm lost.
Michael, argue, and why.
Yeah.
I mean, like,
Why are you arguing? I mean, we're
I-
reviewing your distro.
I never argue. I argy bargy. Very specific.
Right. So is that
Have
agreed? It's
to.
KDE Neon.
Plasma
KD
with
Neon.
transparency. We got everything going on in this one. This is cool. We're going to check it all out.
So, Alan,
Was-
Alan,
It already had transparency. Now it has blur, transparent
Oh,
blur.
sorry, the blur. I was
Yeah.
Have you noticed though? Have you noticed though, guys, that Michael's taking the mick out of English, and yet this is the guy who uses a wood grinding tool instead of a router.
Oh yeah.
so, Alan, do we have
Because they use routers over. What's a router?
What is a router?
Hang on a minute. Did Chuck
Whoever
Berry sing
wins at
about
Ballistic
Route
Overkill gets to
66?
choose the word, okay?
Or did he sing about Route 66?
Yeah. Well, no, because that's only in a song. No, everybody
yeah,
calls
but
that
we're
a
not
route,
talking
too.
about a road here. Is that we're talking about a
No,
router?
that's only that one thing. It's in the song. But if you ask someone, they'll say it's the route. What
So
route are we
meanwhile,
taking?
Back at the
That-
point.
yeah.
I think
You know-
Steve has a question.
Yeah, Alan,
Back
can
at
I
the
just
point.
ask you very quickly, if we're going to do KDE Neon, can you make the rule that as the KDE Neon is installed into real hardware, at that point you need to be eating Marmite? Just
Yes. Totally. Yes.
We're still doing
So-
the Marmite too.
Right.
You must eat Marmite for the duration of the installation.
Oh my god!
No.
So you are, Alan. You're up there, man. You are up there. I can't wait
So-
to see.
So, okay, here's a question for you though. As someone who's been using Neon and the same install, do I have to make a new install, or do I just use the same install? Because
Yes.
it'd be
Oh,
You,
yeah,
have,
this-
you have
this is
you have
fresh.
messed about with yours. I
Yeah.
want an out of the box experience.
That's right.
Everyone has
Okay.
the same out of the box experience.
Yeah.
And then from that you can customize it to your heart's content, or you could leave it as the original
can't leave it.
developers intended.
no, you can't leave Plasma by default. No.
Plus,
That's
while
not
you're
a
doing
thing.
it, you have to be eating Marmite, so you have to do a new install. Yep.
Well, I mean, I can pretend I have
No.
whatever.
No.
Well,
And you gotta do it on
understand
Termite stuck in your keyboard.
I just like having the same install for 2 years and not have to do anything. I would love.
You do realise that by default, as Michael eats Marmite whilst installing KDE Neon, you do realise World of Goo sales are going to go through the roof, don't you? Because the contortions on Michael's face is going to be amazing.
No, I'm gonna love it. I know I'm gonna love it.
Yeah,
It's-
but
it's a-
worse yet, if he happens to spit it out on his keyboard, he's got 240 keys that he's going to have to clean up because he doesn't have the typical keyboard.
Yeah.
And what's he going to do with his 1,100 word?
no,
character
don't.
password?
We ain't gotta worry about it. I'll lay down a tarp or something and we're good.
Yeah.
I was going to say, Michael, you do realise that Marmite out of the jar is like molten bitumen. Don't get it anywhere near your keyboard, dude.
So as
I
an
don't even know
additional
what that
bonus,
means. So
it's the stuff you put on the floor on the roads, like
Yeah.
tarmac.
Yes. It's
okay.
So
You mean
additional
macadam?
bonus points for whoever can do a KDE install and it be super useful on the lowest spec possible machine. Whoever's got the lowest spec
that's a
machine
great
that it
shout.
runs on.
Yeah.
Oh, I
Then-
like that idea.
Yeah, yeah.
Wow.
Well, okay.
I think that would be Derek at this point.
So okay.
With his i7.
Love it.
I don't know. I think one of them laptops would be
Going
the
on
lowest.
Raspberry Pi.
I think
not
Popey
gonna do
just gave an extra bonus point for himself to use one of those super ancient laptops that you got.
Oh, that's right. He's got one of those.
Oh, he's got all those think pads. Yeah.
Oh, that's right. Wow.
I've got a D430. It's only a dual core.
I have a really old Dell Studio.
Is there a
There you
32-bit?
go.
But it
Is
has
there
to be
32-bit?
usable. Has to be usable. No,
It has to be usable.
No,
Oh,
there's no
go with that.
32-bit image.
So
No.
that limits how far
No.
back you can go because it's 64.
So if you power it on at the beginning of the show, the desktop's got to appear before the end. Yeah.
Actually, now I
that's
think
the
about
other
it.
thing. The hidden bonus here is if you're using the slowest possible machine, that means you're eating Marmite for the longest period of time.
Sure.
So you have to pick and choose which one is the most painful.
Yeah. Either you're going to use like the latest i7 with the greatest graphics card and an SSD, or eat lots of Marmite. That's your choice.
It's going on the main machine, let me tell you.
Right.
I'll tell you what, I thought Linux had bad names, but Marmite? I don't know. It's just, that sounds like a laxative.
Did you hear about that? There's actually like the thing, the cookie before Oreo was called Hydrox. Like that.
Nice.
That's a bad name for a cookie.
On Amazon, it says tastes delicious, spread thinly on toast, which you guys have said, but then it says try it on crisp bread with cottage cheese. Oh,
See that?
Let
Not
me
even
tell
I
you
would do
something. Let me tell you something. Vegemite and cheese is awesome.
Oh my gosh.
Awesome.
It's also good if you do roast potatoes. If you mix it in with roast potatoes, it gives a nice coating on them. It's really, really nice.
So what's the difference between Marmite and Vegemite? Are they like
Taste.
like
Taste.
are they?
Yeah, one's
Okay.
stronger, one's Marmite's runnier than Vegemite.
Yeah. I have to say, you can resurface roads with Vegemite and get away with it.
it just sounds so good.
It sounds so good.
I can't wait.
Yummy.
At a pinch, I've been known to grease my hair back with Marmite. Hides a lot of the grey.
Yeah. Good luck with asking a girl for a kiss with that, Alan. Best of luck with that.
Well, just to be clear, the challenge is on real hardware, not any VM. So.
Not VMs yet.
Here we go.
Great shout. Great shout.
I'm gonna put it on one of these ancient laptops as well
I have
as
this
this
Dell
machine.
1537 here. I can easily put anything on it.
Nice.
That'll
Nice.
So
So
we're going to try and get it on this first generation Chromebook.
Oh my god.
Yeah. You're gonna be eating lots of Marmite.
I just tore apart my son's old Dell Vostro 1500, so that would have been perfect
Look at
for
this
it.
beautiful puppy here. It's just waiting for an OS that will just sing on it.
Just
It's waiting for Katie Neon.
Alan, I'll join you. I'll stick it on the first gen Chromebook. How about that?
Excellent.
I think this
That way I
thing
get to eat lots of them.
Chrome.
Oh,
That way I get to eat more Marmite. Oh my gosh.
yeah,
That's
beautiful.
hilarious.
I get to. That'd be so great.
The issue
All right.
is I need to find a 32-bit version of something to stick on it.
Peppermint, easy.
Peppermint OS.
Peppermint, you're done.
Peppermint it is. We'll pepper it.
Yeah.
I think it's interesting to have the. I mean, now that I think about it, it's the Neon is a better one because of the whole 64-bit requirement. Like that's an interesting thing because you can't do it super old.
Well, can I chop it in half? Because I only have half a processor. It's a 32-bit.
The 32-bit one would be easy, wouldn't it? Puppy Linux. You're done.
Yeah.
I kind of like the peppermint.
But I think the KDE Neon one's great. Yeah, put Pep 9 on a 32-bit, you're done. You'll get everything you want. You're done. It's simple. There's nothing else to say.
Yeah, but I ain't conforming to the thing of having the KDE Neon realm to fit the bill here.
Well, here's the thing. If you get yourself an extra large jar of Marmite, you can install Pep and then install Plasma over the Pep. And that way you get to really relish the taste of Marmite.
Or take Marmite and put it between your processor. Use it as a processor paste, and it will help cool your processor.
I think Vegemite actually scares me now that I check this link out. It actually scares me now because it comes in a tube of paste.
Yeah,
That's
anything.
because
Like,
it's
it
quite
comes in
thick.
a jar, Michael. You want me to
I
take it
know.
in a jar?
If,
Hang
no,
on,
if,
I'll be
if,
back.
if it can go in a tube, like a paste tube, that's automatically like This got problems.
They
Oh my
brush their
gosh.
teeth with it.
Colin just went to go get some Vegemite.
You know, you can order Marmite and Vegemite together and save on Amazon. You can get.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, that has to be done now. It has to be.
No,
Yeah,
if you
finally.
want the ultimate experience, you need a jar of Marmite and a jar of Bovril. That's you done. That's it.
No,
What do you have, Colin?
I have some
Oh,
standards.
there it is. Look at
There
that.
it is.
Oh my
Was that a
gosh.
32-ounce jar?
That's a nice size jar, isn't it?
Wow.
God,
That's industrial.
That is
looks
not
like the
leaving
axle
that jar.
grease we used
Look
to
at all
grease
the
the bearings on my car.
rolling.
Why would
does
you
look
eat
like axle
something like
grease.
that?
I mean, you can replace
On toast
compost
with
that.
cheese. Nice.
Oh my gosh.
Did you try to lube the bearings on your car with it yet, too, or no?
Yeah, you can do that.
Oh,
So,
Jesus.
Great chain grease.
All right.
Grace.
We gotta say goodbye because we're coming to the end here.
Yeah.
So everybody gets a last word. Colin.
Well, KDE Neon. Let's do it. I'm going
Dig
to
it.
try and find the lowest spec computer I can.
I got one.
All right, Zeb. Last word.
You can catch us tomorrow night live for our latest Destination Linux episode. But more importantly, go and fill your boots.
Wait a minute, Zeb. Is that tomorrow night your time or tomorrow night U.S. time?
That'll be tomorrow midday US time.
Okay.
Alan, last word.
Thursday the 28th, I think it is. We'll put out an Ubuntu podcast where we review the what's it called, Purism laptop. So you might want to have a listen. to that.
Nice.
Nice.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thursday the 28th. Dig it. Ryan.
Vegas 64 coming soon, and Destination Linux episode coming tomorrow.
Yeah.
Michael.
Destination Linux live tomorrow, and also touchdigital.com/Amazon. Check out some Marmite or Vegemite. and I just posted in the chat room a link to a 2.5 kilogram pail of Vegemite. So who doesn't want that, right?
A pail of Vegemite.
Oh my God.
I don't want to say, your Amazon affiliate links in there, huh?
Yeah, it totally is.
Of course it is.
But-
Of course it
Of course
is.
it is.
Why
Of course it is. Look at the shipping though. Shipping is like twice the thing of the because it's so ridiculous.
Because the weight, yeah.
Yeah, it's so
That's
ridiculous.
$114.
I love the fact that Amazon shows me customers who bought this also viewed, and then it's just full of Vegemite. There's like no other product. If anyone viewed that product, the only thing they're looking for is Vegemite.
That was the last thing they bought.
What I
before
don't
they-
understand is why don't I get Prime shipping on this?
Right? Exactly.
Rocco, you do, but it comes in a cement mixer that's working.
The only reason I even clicked on this is because it looked like a Play-Doh cup, and then I was like, "Oh, that's kind of cool." And then it's gigantic. Like, okay, perfect.
That is massive.
All right,
That is huge.
Derek, last word.
Well, you can find me on YouTube at tuxdigital.com/distrotube, but you can find me on Steam at distrotube. Come at me, bros.
Come
Yeah.
at me, bros.
Last word, Dan.
Well, I'm going to take that laptop I showed you, and I'm going to see what I can stuff on it to get it to run. It currently has Windows 7 on it, but
Yeah, we need to
who
fix
wants
that.
That's right.
And
Joe.
Ballistic Overkill. It's fun to play even without audio.
I don't know. EB, last word.
Yeah, breaking news actually, which will rock the world. Peppermint 9's new respin, which is imminent, is going to be called Marmite.
All right. Everybody check us out on Destination Linux tomorrow at noon. We should be live if all goes well. And maybe during the week we'll do some live streaming of some gaming on Linux as well. All right.
Cool.
everybody have a great night.
Peace.
Have a good
Thanks
one,
all.
guys.
Take it easy.
Take care, guys.
Yeah, everyone.
Bye-bye.
I'm going to bed now.
Right.